This is Denise, and it is midweek Wednesday, and we have Tanaath and Sunfire with Drake. Today is June the 19th. I want to welcome Tanaath from the Silver Legion and Sunfire from the Galactic Federation of Planets, and Drake.
How do?
Hello, Denise.
Hello.
Hi, gang. How y'all doing tonight?
Pretty good. Just finished supper.
Okay. Oh, good for you. I'm going to catch supper after.
Coffee, so I'm happy.
Oh, cool. Okay. I'm going to see if any of you have an introduction or anything you want to share before we go to questions. And I will give you fair warning that we already have 15 pages of questions. And we haven't
Actually,
even
there is
started
something.
the show.
There is something I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
It's come to my attention that there is a cyber squatter by the name of John Bond going around buying up domains that have anything to do with, I guess you could call it the New Age phenomenon, and have bought up, including domains such as silverlegion.com and tolic.com, among others. I would like to draw people's attention to the notion of a cyber squatter. Now, a cyber squatter is somebody who buys up similar sounding domains in order to then extort money out of people to then come claim that domain themselves and clear their name, so to speak. This would be akin to somebody going and buying Microsoft.net or Microsoft.org. They are not Microsoft, they are not representing Microsoft, but they are buying domains that make it look like they are Microsoft in order to make Microsoft then pay money. Now, Microsoft has a massive legal team which is able to combat this kind of cyber squatting. I do not. So there is only one domain at which you will reach the Silver Legion's headquarters on the Internet, and that is www.silverlegion.org. That's registered to me, not John Bond. Anything you see registered to John Bond is automatically not legitimate. This is just a cyber squatter, just a troll. He has nothing to do with me, with Tolic, or anything else. It's just somebody who seems to be out to capitalize on all of these similar sites. If you see it, the domain name is listed as for sale, which is definitely not the case with the silverlegion.org.
Thank you very much for clearing that up, because we
got
know
the same
that
thing, don't we, Denise?
Yes, we had the same thing that we. Drake initially had. He's got AmericanNationalMilitia.com, and he had ANMilitia.com, and when it came up for expiration, it was arbitrarily sold to another party, and now that other party owns AN Militia and is basically trying to extort and say, oh, you can have the name, but now it's a premium name and you've got to pay $2,500 to get your domain name back. So, these are the kinds of people and the caliber of people that we're dealing with. Well, I wouldn't even call them people.
I would also suggest that anyone trying to conflate us with cyber squatters probably has an agenda of their own in trying to draw confusion and muddy the waters.
Yeah, and I just want to say that the Galactic Federation of Planets does not have a presence on the Internet at all. We do not have an official site or anything right now.
Oops.
Oops.
So anybody claiming to be the Galactic Federation of Planets on any website or Galactic Federation or anything like that, they're fakes. Or they're
I wouldn't be that nice.
Galactic Federation White.
I wouldn't be that nice.
Yeah, they're more than fake.
I've been told by several people not to say such things over the radio.
Yeah.
Well, my mom said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, and I choose to exercise that right now.
My tongue's getting sore. Well, it's like anything else. It's like the involvements in terms of having to be available 24/7, pretty much. Also having to go through and sift loads of reports of just about every kind you can think of, and then having to have a working knowledge of hyperdimensional physics as it is related to sacred geometry and whatnot like that, has a tendency to get your shorts in a bunch in your head. People that have no clue will probably continue to have no clue. The people who are opportunists and feel that they can profit by playing games are very apt to find themselves in heavy legal constraints, and facing serious problems. I intend to initiate some things probably tomorrow and see where they go. I've been offered through certain people that I associate with the capability to legally enforce things, whereas it deals with what I'm doing. This includes, it's not limited to, but includes our show, our Facebook page, the website, Galactic Federation of Planets, and the Silver Legion. So we're going to start one at a time, downsizing people's underwear and see what they feel about it, and go from there. This is just simple, fair notice, publicly and officially, and we'll see what transpires over the next few days, just so everybody will know. I work in conjunction with a variety of different groups, anonymous, hackers, that's the name of a group, by the way, international flagrants is one of the groups. They got that name because somebody likes to pass gas on the internet, and apparently he's fairly loud at it. So, you know, in terms of dealing with this, bogus is a very nice term for what's being done. The opportunist ideology of you can buy it if you want it, for sale and all this other stuff, shows what they are. There's over periods of time, I've heard the term patriots for profit. Well, here you go. I consider this personally to be much worse than that, in that these other websites, I checked into a couple of them, have references that have nothing to do with what we do. And so we'll see where this ends up. The simplicity of it is that in order to keep what you got, you're going to have to be very careful in terms of your presentation of everything that you do. So be advised, the fun games is the beginning. And something interesting over the past week, both the ladies can confirm this, that we've been having a lot of fun.
Indeed.
Changing things from what was, or what had been pushed, into something that's much more palatable, reasonable, peaceful, and available to be enjoyed, let's put it that way. And I'm not going to say anything further than that because it'll jeopardize things that are not for me to say. But the thing about this show is people get to understand, hopefully, some of the basis for what's coming, some of the generalities involved in the many races of beings that are intricately involved, some of whom you probably won't meet right at first because they're still busy. There's a grouping of people, as I understand it, and Tanaath, both the ladies can confirm or deny this, that have been pretty much selected to be representatives or intermediaries or ambassadors or whatever handle you want to stick on that. And most of these people keep their head no matter what the pressure is, and most of these people know what they're talking about and what they're dealing with. There's a great deal of a combination of prejudices involved in this particular subject, one of which being that, it ain't possible, it can't be. Well, okay. What if it is? That's the only question I ask. What if it is? Could it be? Even in your wildest dreams, what is the limitation? Are you really so inconsiderate of the Creator that that entity would make only one? Do you really believe that? Because this is what it boils down to, these questions that have been supposedly pre-answered in written and dissertation forms. You hear it from a lot of people. There's only one. There's only one way. My God's bigger than yours or greater. Or, I didn't see anything in any of the written texts about an arm wrestling contest to prove superiority anywhere. It just ain't there. We've got a history, and the history of our planet and the history of humanity in general in its varying forms on this planet is greatly different from what you've been told. The Vatican knows all about it. Many of the intel people who are able to access the information know all about it, and yet nobody says nothing. And that's primarily one of the reasons I wanted to do this show. Two things. You're dealing with the real deal. Secondly, I'm not going to put any BS out there, period. If somebody starts getting into a subject that is not correct in terms of what the presentation is, I will raise my hand and say, not quite, or isn't it more like this? I'll ask questions if I don't know. And I hope that everybody has considered their questions. I hope everybody has been listening to the archives of the previous recordings. Many of the generalized questions have been answered. I'm hoping to start seeing questions that deal with formulations of the interaction between a whole race of ETs and the human race. How do you interact? What do you do? What don't you do? Whose sense of humor is like what? How do people look at things in terms of valuation? And what is that valuation based on? How do you look at a valuation when there is no monetary system? I mean, there's a whole bunch of questions that could be asked that I really feel are overdue. They've been that way for several hundred years. But the main gist of it is that I know the ladies. I know them on a working basis and somewhat personal basis. And not only do I like what I found, but it's fun. I'm going to tell you this. It's fun to work with them. Not just these ladies, but many other entities that I work with. It is really cool. It is not something that is insanity imagined into some kind of reality form in my head either. A lot of people don't understand that you are, as a being, also absolutely connected spiritually to the whole of it. We are merely little fragments of creation, of the Creator, in a sentient form. To be able to be, as the Creator stipulated, what are we supposed to do? The answer I keep hearing and have heard is exist to your greatest and finest best. Now, what is that? Well, human beings know how to be nice to each other. If we can do that to each other, and some people ain't fit to be nice to, but you're nice to them anyway or have dealings with them, then, yeah. Sure, have a little reservation. You meet somebody from a different world, and you should automatically have reservations like, wow, man, you're different. And they're liable to look right back at you, right in your eye, and say, yeah, you look different to us, too. There's a line in a song about signs clogging up the scenery and breaking my mind. Well, the part that I like most in that is he's talking to a businessman, and he's a hippie freak. And he says, hey, man, can't you see you look funny to me, but I'm just trying to be polite? And that's basically my little spiel for the introduction for the fun and games. And hopefully Tath and Sunfire might have a little something they might want to add. Do you?
Let the games begin.
Yeah, come on. Let's get her done.
Oh, okay. All right, so are you ready to have me ask questions, or do you want me to play a song, or what?
Hit me with the best shot.
Questions.
Okay, let's go to the questions.
Let's get into the questions.
Let's let them rip. Okay. We got some humdingers. Okay, Drake and everyone. Thanks for all of your efforts in enlightening the American people. This might seem like an unanswerable question, but did anyone ever tell you, Drake, or have you ever had the feeling that you, Drake, were the reincarnation of George Washington?
No, and I never cut down a cherry tree either.
And you don't have wooden teeth? Okay. A Sunfire, it's brilliant to see you on the show. A couple of years ago, when I was active on the John Kettler website, you gave me some really good advice on how to make contact with ETs. You said that if I was to go outside on a clear night and with intent thank the ETs for what they are doing for us, I would get a reply. Well, after 2 nights of trying, I got one. It was a flash of brilliant light that was way too big to be a satellite, and there wasn't any airplanes in sight. It was a wonderful experience, and from then on, I knew that this is for real. On occasions, I have tried to get their attention again, but with no joy. So my question is, will they still reply, and what other experiences do people get from doing this?
I think they will when they can and when they hear you, and just, keep trying is what I recommend. And the experiences go as far as the individual is pretty much ready to take them. I've seen people that have gone from, just a little brilliant flash of light to even like full telepathic conversations. And, most of the positives aren't going to go any further or any faster than what the individual, seeking contact is is ready to handle, because they don't want to scare you or, overstep any bounds or anything like that. So my suggestion, keep trying and, keep the camera out. You might actually, get some really interesting pictures.
Okay. Okay. Drake, if we have more than 80% of the military on the side of the good and freedom, then why can't they start putting out mass production of cars that run off of water and protect the scientists and the facilities against the Dark Cabal? So long as we use gas and oil, we are supporting the Dark Cabal in destroying our planet.
That's a good point, but you also have to understand that it's not the military's job to do so. They're involved in that sort of thing, but not directing it. So that will come about more on a private or personal basis, okay?
Okay. I was watching a Science Channel show about Kecksburg, and they had a testimony from a witness that say that the craft at any Army base, as well as what appeared to be a body of a being that had only 3 fingers and a reptilian-looking skin. My question is there anything that you can share about this event? Was it real?
Drake?
I haven't got any knowledge on it.
Kecksburg, Kecksburg, about supposedly there was a body of a being that had 3 fingers and reptilian skin. Do you know anything about that, Drake?
Yeah, it sounds like a Hollywood representation of things that I've seen. I believe the movie Battleship has three-fingered aliens with some kind of really strange chinny chin hair, and they have an attitude problem, which, by the way, just so everybody will know, that sort of scenario ain't possible, ain't going to happen. We, and when I say we, I mean those who are in a position to stop such things, it ain't even get close, just so you know, okay?
Okay, question for Tanaath. Are there any Gorgons that you know of, Gorgon, or Gorgon ETs? How about their homeworld and the name of it? Also, do you know the name of the Alpha Centaurian homeworlds? And are there reptilians mixed in with the Alpha Centaurian population?
There are no reptilians who are mixed in with the Alpha Centauri population, unless they are infiltrators, and if they're discovered, they're usually destroyed. Gorgons, yes, Gorgons exist, whether you mean Gorgons like with a body of bulls and metallic skin, or Gorgons with, there are beings out there that have snakes for hair. I don't know what their home world are.
What I looked up for Gorgons was that they were feminine creatures with snakes for hair.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what they're referring
that comes from the tale of the Medusa. The Medusa was one of the Gorgons who was transformed into the Medusa for her vanity, at least according to Greek legends. Mm-hmm. But there are beings that have snakes for hair, and there are beings that have various forms of petrifaction abilities, and there are beings that, I guess, fit the classical description of Gorgon, whether or not that's what they call themselves. I don't know what their homeworlds are. I don't really have much interaction with them directly.
Okay. All right. I also wanted to just tell you, Tanaath, that for the past year I've had the most repetitive and shocking synchronicity that is so far unparalleled by anything else in my life. That synchronicity is Saturn. I see the objects, names, places popping into my life in the forms of the words, effectively of Saturn. I know it's extremely profound, whatever it means, but I don't have the slightest idea. Why would I keep having a synchronicity with Saturn?
I have no idea what that particular synchronicity means, just that it's obviously significant to you. What I would do if I were you is put out the intention for clarification. Basically request that the universe tell you what it is it's trying to tell you with all this. And then things might start to become clear. Ask yourself, what does this mean? What is the significance? And then the information will start coming to you.
Okay. Next is just a comment to all of you. I always felt that your programs have been really informative, and I thank you for offering your audience a different and improved perspective. I must say that you guys have really stepped up on the content. Drake, you are very special and very important in keeping us grounded. Thank you for adding Neil Keenan as well as Tanaath and Sunfire. I now do feel much safer and grounded. Okay. Next is a question for any one of you. Is Jesus the Son of Yahweh?
Not that I know of.
Nope. For one thing, there was never a man named Jesus Christ. This is a title. According to archaeological scholars, there were actually a number of people who were labeled as Jesus Christ, who were walking around at that time performing various miracles. This is what we know from archaeological evidence. Now, a lot of archaeological evidence can be manipulated. A lot of religious testimony has been manipulated. The true story is not likely to be found in any book on this planet or any ruins that an archaeologist is digging at. What we know is that the person that people generally think of as Jesus Christ was an incarnate, a higher dimensional incarnate who was not representing himself as God, but coming to help people develop forms of thought that would assist them in their spiritual development. All of the paradigms of control and judgments and perdition were added by Paul, who is known to us to have been a reptoid incarnate. Now, your mileage may vary. I don't support any religion over any other religion on this planet, as they've all been tampered with.
Okay, makes sense. Okay. All right. I listened to an interview by Alfred Levermore Weber III with Anaya Briggs, and while it was a very interesting speech, it seemed to fit with other information I've heard before. There were still parts of it that seemed strange. Do you have any thoughts on Anaya Briggs Drake? Is he or she disinfo and trying to manipulate people's minds?
Let's put it this way. Everybody has the capacity for discernment. One of the things with discernment is that you will kind of feel something ain't right. Whenever somebody talks, and you, over a period of time, not just right off the bat, but sometimes right off the bat, generally it's over a period of time, you start feeling a little uncomfortable with whatever's being presented. It probably ain't cool, not kosher, or incorrect, one of those. And so taken in that light, then you understand where I would come from on either agreeing with, supporting, or negating someone. It's not my position generally to make calls on other people. There are thousands of other people with their own little widgets going on, their own websites, their own talks, their own agendas. And I have not found very many to be fully correct. Consequently, I do not either support nor reject them, but listen to them and see what you think. If it don't fit, it probably ain't right. Next.
Okay. About magic and the like, is there any place that we can go to look for information on what is actual magic and energy manipulation and not the ritualistic dark practices that are associated with the Illuminati that most people assume is what magic is all about?
Rituals are included under the umbrella of magic, but that isn't all of what magic is. Magic is, in essence, the act of making the universe do what you want, making reality do what you want. This can be accomplished in a number of ways. Ritual's one of those. Direct intent, focused intent is others of those. There's many, many different flavors of this. As to where you can go to learn more about it, there aren't really a whole lot of sources available. A lot of them have been co-opted. It's if you consider back in the early days of the Internet, when it really wasn't taken seriously as a information transmission mechanism, when it was taken to be a sort of a niche market of nerds, you could find a lot better information on things such as magic, astral travel, what have you. But now that it's become identified as a potent source of information and a potent threat to the cabal, there have been efforts to infiltrate a lot of those little communities and things that had formed during the dawn of the Internet. So it's very difficult to find accurate, non-tainted, non-booby-trapped information on magic, specifically on how to use it. A lot of these gurus who are going around billing themselves as spiritual experts have been co-opted by the cabal and told, hey, we'll let you practice as long as you make sure to do this and this for us. Whereas this and this is making sure that anybody who actually has any talent or facility for this is not actually going to accomplish anything, or if they do, they're accomplishing what the cabal wants. When it comes to practicing magic, I would say, look for the old stuff. Go to used bookstores. Don't go to your Chapters or your Barnes and Noble or whatever and buy something brand new off the shelf, because those publishing companies were taken over or co-opted a long time ago. All it takes is one editor in the right spot. Change this word and that word, and you can publish your book, Mr. Sir. Okay. Go to the used bookstores, find rare books, look in old libraries, take a look and in places like that and look for the old stuff that was printed early on in the movement, not the new stuff that's coming out all the time, because most sources have been co-opted. Another good place is crowdsource it on the internet, but anytime you're going to do that, you're going to want to take very, very care to use your discernment. If something feels fishy, if something gives you a gut moment of, oh man, I don't know if I trust this, don't trust it. Forums, places like Reddit are great places where you can go and find information on a variety of topics, but again, it's caveat emptor. Be very careful. Some of this is booby-trapped. Use your discernment at all times. Don't just blindly do what somebody says is a good idea. Examine it yourself and see, does this have merit? Could this backfire? What does the thought of this make me feel inside? Does it make me feel like, I don't know? And also be aware of anything that seems designed to hit your triggers. If they got to push your buttons to make you do something, they're probably not honest.
Gotcha. Okay. How will people like my wife and I learn that there will be announcements on the TV about the visits, the biospheres, the ascension, etc.?
I'm sorry, I'm having a lot of traffic noise, so I just closed my door. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, how will people like my wife and I learn that there will be announcements on the TV about the visits, the biospheres, and the ascension, etc.?
I'm not entirely sure exactly how this information will be disseminated, just that it will be disseminated and it will be done in such a way that nobody is inadvertently left out, whether it's due to issues of accessibility or issues of education or any of the various barriers that normally keep individuals from participating normally or fully. So there is stuff in place to make sure that everybody gets what they need.
Okay. Keep listening to Universal Voice and Drake and you guys. So let's see. Thank you, and we loved the last 3 Wednesday shows. The information is extremely valuable. Drake, what will happen to the immigration laws after the reset?
The things that are going on now are part and parcel to changing things. You're seeing a lot of things in the government. You're seeing a lot of things financially. You're seeing a lot of things socially. That's one form of a reset when the collateral accounts are released. The secondary part of that is the social reset. That includes religion, general beliefs, attitudes, and actions towards others. Third big reset is the one dealing with our position and condition in terms of the relationship to the transition. There's going to be a large amount of information on that. Most of the things that are to come about are going to have to be made available to the general public. We're going to try to set up a combination of information points. This will be your libraries, schools, and even possibly, let's see here, individual party groups where you get together and watch somebody's computer. I mean, this happens all the time with games. So you're going to have a variety of different venues that all of this information is going to be coming out as a part of. You're going to have things that are videotaped, where you have a meeting with ETs as an example. You're going to have informational meetings recorded by varying people, placed on the internet, as well as official sites, so that you can understand what's going on in the combination of government and sociology. The transition is one of the subjects that's a little bit sensitive, although it's there and it's coming. Therefore, we have to, or have an obligation to, at least make people aware of it so that they're not afraid of the dark when this thing does happen. And things of this nature. The idea of leaving somebody dangling is going to be changed as dramatically as we can, as immediately as possible. Meaning that, as an example, the 2 to 3 year wait that the DOD thinks is funny for the VA to have to go through to service a veteran who got something blown up when he was on the battlefield, that stops dead in its tracks. Somebody objects, they go find another job. I don't care who it is. And yeah, I'm sort of putting people on notice a little bit with this, but this needs to be covered. The same thing is true in finance. Those entities, to include governments, who have been operating on other people's money or borrowed money, as it were, the exorbitant and flagrant expenditures made over nothing, when there could be a lot of good accomplished with the same amount of money elsewhere. The fact of the matter that the people, in general, worldwide, are sick and tired of all of the extemporaneous BS that's heaped on them, and then have all their money taken away by somebody who says so, is slowly beginning to come to the attention of the masses, and the masses are saying, no, Brazil, Turkey, EU, some places here. Now, one of the things that's been coming up is that they're looking at cutting Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and food stamps. They're trying to do this right now. Might want to pay attention to that. Neil and I have offered, through the collateral accounts, to try to assist in terms of mitigating a majority of the expenses involved with simplistic living. If you're a person who does not have any skills, we'll find out what your best skills area might be and see whether you really like it. It might be something you really enjoy and you could be productive at, and there you go, you got a job, and you get to go to school and learn what you're supposed to be doing. The idea of an unemployment rate higher than 0.1% is ridiculous. There's a great deal much more needing to be done than people are being put to work to do. Look at the government. I mean, that bloated mess has got to go. Yeah, we're going to pop the balloon. These things everybody's going to have to work towards in some respects, or work on, or at the very least have open and honest discussions about. Yeah, you can have it in a public forum. Get 20, 30 people together. Get, a dozen, 3 or 4. Doesn't matter. Talk about it. Discuss it. Listen to some of the archives of these shows so that you have some of the definitive answers from the real deal. We are not going to lie to you. You will get the very best information that we are allowed or can put out. Next.
Okay. Question for Tanaath. Have you read the Terra Papers by Robert Morningsky? And if so, is the SSS, Orion Reptilian, Empire still around? And is they are still around? And I think it's and if they are still around, are they as powerful as Robert Morningsky alluded to?
Okay. First of all, I have not read this. The Orion Draco Hydra Empire is still around. They are not as powerful as claimed by a lot of people. Essentially, they're not going to win. In fact, they have recently suffered some major defeats. I would not personally put any fear energy into that at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. Question. Our founder was not a rich or powerful person, nor was she a channel, nor did she have contact with extraterrestrial allies in other dimensions. Nevertheless, she wanted to help humanity free itself from the hidden masters. One area she did have expertise in was the higher layered realms and a good knowledge of how the multiverse works. She was also a light worker, a subset of a light worker devoted to protection and guardianship. She put that knowledge and expertise to use by recruiting other light warriors in an organized society, which took the Silver Legion as their name. This is a paragraph from Tanaath's sites. Anyone can claim the same as Tanaath has. Please ask her for proof of who made her Prime Commander.
The Silver Legion did. As I understand it, it's not the same thing as the way it would be down here. For instance, my job as Prime Commander is not to go around ordering people around. Largely, I serve in a diplomatic and organizational function. When it comes down to it, when I get called to battle, I'm in there with the rest, shoulder to shoulder with the rest. The way our ranks work, it's not so much a hierarchy as it is almost like, well, a holographic or networks structure. We do have people who specialize more at the administrative level. They get positions that involve coordinating larger and larger groups and greater activities and going into the big thinking, or the big picture thinking sort of thing. And then we have people and would much rather just, get into the fight, kick some buns, and have fun. They're not interested in being the administration or the ones who are looking at the big picture. They just want to know who needs their butt kicked and can I go now and do it, please? That's how the Silver Legion works. It's not a matter of hierarchy. It's not a matter of, oh, well, you're the boss, so we're just going to do what you say. As Prime Commander, if I try to tell my Legion to do something and they don't like it, they say, Tanaath, shut up. It doesn't happen very often because I'm usually smarter than that. I think of myself more as an administrator and diplomat. They think of me more as a mascot. But, we work together to help, and we are very effective as an organization.
Okay. Next question is, after the last show, I went to the Collier website and was surprised to read that his scenario for the end of times will be Jesus Christ coming back and fighting the man of lawlessness, B-A-A-L, Baal, and many will perish. Only the bad guys, I hope. Sounds like a lot of prophecy, Jehovah Witnesses, to me, and I would appreciate clarification on what is true and what is not. I have tried to do my research, as Drake has often mentioned, but I keep getting mixed information. I am so confused.
That actually doesn't sound like Collier at all. I don't know where that would have came from.
I think it was stuff taken out of context. I think when Mornay, yeah, I always have trouble
He's
pronunciation.
it's Mornay.
My pronunciation, forget it.
Yeah, I think what Mornay was alluding to was that there was a chance for stuff like this to happen based on the demands of our beliefs. Not that this had to happen or that it was destined to happen, but that because enough people believed in it, it would be, events would be forced into taking place. But I also believe that Mornay said that this wasn't going to happen. I think that Alex may have taken that out of context because when I, mind you, I don't have as close resonance with Mornay as he does. But when I talk to the guy, he hasn't been saying anything about there being a requirement for the Christian end times prophecy. It's not required. This stuff was all planted and an opportunity to make us manifest it.
Yeah, I think that's what Morony was going on about, is that at the time when he mentioned that information to Collier, that it was in that timeline we had the potential to manifest the Book of Revelation, end times prophecies, and that was, I think that's probably what he was going on about at that, in that aspect. And I can guarantee we are way, 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 way beyond that, in a far more positive direction and a way more positive timeline at this point.
Okay. It goes on just a little bit more. It says, also, I went to the Bollinger's site and I read some of the missing books of the Bible. The Gospel of Timothy or Thomas asks God, what is the original sin? And God answers, there is no original sin, etc. My Christian friends did not like that statement, and of course, they say it is not in the Bible. God had a reason to omit it. Huh? And of course, much more. I get a severe headache trying to figure all this out, and I know that you are all very busy, but I would appreciate it if you gals and Drake can give us the Cliff Notes.
I can talk a little bit about that. For one thing, God did not write the Bible. The original first 4 books or 5 books of the Torah were ordered to be written down by a being that called itself God, and were written down by human beings under direction of that being. No matter which way you slice it, it wasn't written directly by God. Now, the New Testament is composed of Gospels. Gospels were written down often by people who had first-hand accounts of what happened. Some of it was done by disciples of those individuals, or their ancestors, the ones who came after, their descendants and followers and whatnot. There are literally hundreds of Gospels. Now, when Constantine converted to Christianity and formed the Holy Roman Church and the Holy Roman Empire, there was a council that was involved in going through all of the Gospels that had been collected thus far and picking out which ones would be included in the New Testament. Not all of the books that are in the New Testament, or not all of the books that exist, went into the New Testament, only the ones that this council felt was appropriate. And they made their choice not on any criteria of truthfulness or anything like that, but on the ones that were most consistent in their accounts between each other. Now, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about there being multiple people at that time that were going around doing things that all got captured as or passed down through antiquity as being one person doing actions. The reason why they all settled on these 4 Gospels that had these accounts in common is because Gospel writing was a bit of a fad back in the day. It was there were a lot of beings running around doing miraculous things at that time. It was chic for every little town to have its own little miracle worker, and those things got wrote down and passed down in Gospels. And over time, those stories got conflated down into one being. So when this council went in to edit the Bible and make changes and decide what they would put in the Bible, they did so according to what would support the current regime, i.e. Constantine, and its legitimacy, what would support their own assertions of what the Christian church should be. They omitted a lot of the Gnostic mysteries. If you want to get into true Christianity, start looking for original Gnostic translations, because that is closer to the original truth of Christianity than what is currently practiced as Christianity today. So you have a truncated book that was created in order to present what Constantine needed, not what God needed. And then you had a council that did this again in the Dark Ages, and you had King James do this yet again after the printing press and the Protestant Reformation. So not just once was the Bible edited heavily by human beings, 3 times it was definitely known to have been edited by human beings in order to support their own social structures, not necessarily in order to do any work for God, in order to support their own agendas. And that is why you have gospels that show up that say things that modern-day Christians who don't know better will say, sacrilege.
Okay. Okay, next question is for Drake. Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I guess this isn't for Drake. How did you prove your birth if you don't have a birth certificate born here on Earth?
Who are you talking to? Like, I want to know who that's addressed to, because everybody here that I know is an incarnate, not a drop-in. That means I was born on this planet. I was born human. I am human. This isn't a matter of a possession or a walk-in. This is my born body, and it's mine. I have a mother, a father, and siblings, and I've been walking around here as a human on this planet for over 30 years. I got a birth certificate. No, I am not going to show it.
Okay. I don't know who that question. I don't know who that question was directed at, or if it was a general question. No, but it says, how did you prove your birth if you have no birth certificate born here on Earth? So, I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure. Do you have to wait for people to wake up before we'll have any reset?
It would help.
Yeah, it would help. But no, we're not waiting for that.
Okay, can anyone or everyone living in 4D fly, or will we still have to learn to acquire certain skills?
You'll still have to learn. There's going to be a lot of learning and training that goes on. Not everybody can fly. Not everybody wants to fly.
The actual ability to levitate does not kick in naturally until 60, but there are some 40 races that have that ability as part of their genetic coding.
Okay. Wanting your opinion, what do you think of the following 3 individuals, Ben Fulford, Alex Jones, and David Icke?
Maybe these guys can comment on Fulford. Alex Jones is a fear peddler. He makes a point of telling you at least once per episode, if not more often, that they're coming to kill you and hurt you. Anybody who needs to constantly reinforce this is probably not on your side. Yes, he does useful work by raising awareness. Unfortunately, he does it from the fear porn perspective. It's not helpful. David Icke started out very strong. Somewhere along the line, his message seems to have petered out a bit. He's gone a lot more corporate, and he's also, well, I've seen some stuff go through him that seems to be supporting other agendas besides human freedom.
Okay.
Sunfire, Drake, you got a comment on Fulford?
I think I'm going to leave this one to Drake.
Yeah, well, I'm familiar with Ben. Sometimes the best of intentions get sidetracked, and some of the things that Ben has been famous for in terms of doing his due diligence have not been followed the way they should have been. This is of late, and in some cases continues in a way. I do not, I won't stipulate that Ben's out of the loop or that he's got problems, but it has become obvious to some of his close friends that there are problems there. I can only wish the man the best and hope that things get to a point where they can be rectified. I like Ben. Some people might not understand that, but I do. And I think that personally, there's a lot of things that could be done better, but at least he's doing much better than he was at one point. And like I say, I like the guy. Okay?
Okay. All right. Should we be concerned about all the mainstream media and internet media news about U.S. military aid in a possible no-fly zone to assist the Al-Qaeda rabble in Syria? This could possibly develop into World War III. The crazies have wanted to crank up for a while now, or is it just more cabal horse hockey? What do you say?
The rebels are armed by the cabal. The ones they're fighting against are armed by the cabal. Israel is armed by the cabal. It's a cabal puppet show. All of it.
But they're not going to get the World War III as much as they want it. They're not going to get to have it.
Oh.
They might as well just stop wasting taxpayers' money and, just quit the shenanigans now.
They'd have a better chance of surviving in the long run if they did so.
I hint Drake wants to make a comment here. Go ahead, Drake.
I'm biting my tongue real hard trying not to say the wrong thing here. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard it from the horse's mouth, okay, in my opinion. Now, secondary to that and complimentary of it, they're so full of it, it hurts. The fact that you've been lied to, and you're beginning to learn this, I mean, look at the scandals and think about it. You've been lied to every turn of the way. They did not miss anything. And if they couldn't screw it up one way, they did it another. Now, I don't know what it takes for people to wake up and get the idea through their head that things have not changed overnight, nor will they, because too much vested interest. Ooh, man, I got to keep my little moneymaker pumping or I'm in trouble kind of attitude. It don't cut it with me, but it's there, and it ain't something that's going to go away. It is not something that's nice. There are only a few things in this world that I really take adamant issue with. Lying to people for the fun of it is one of them. And this administration has been so full of that it's unconscionable. But they've been doing it. And they're not going to stop until such time as the people, that's us, you, me, everybody, decides to go down and bang on the desk, jump up and down, holler about, and say, change it or else. Don't tell them what the else is. Let them wonder. Give them some sleepless nights like they have been doing to us. How am I supposed to pay that tax bill? Oh, my goodness. Who says you owe it? Yeah. The IRS is bogus, so that means that they're not allowed to collect anything any more than a greeter at Walmart. Number two, who says you owe? They do. Well, imagine that. It goes in their pockets and they say that we owe them money. Well, that's interesting. I mean, if you start studying, you'll find out that 99% of the horse hockey that's been played is just that. It ain't going to get better until we change it, and I'm looking for the change to come any day now. I'll leave it alone at that.
For any or all of you, a Jehovah's Witness friend of mine is trying to get me to read the Bible, but I have a hard time believing in certain religious beliefs. What happens when we die? Our souls go to heaven or what? She also says that when you die, that this is it. Nothing else happens, period. Okay, that's the first question.
Okay, well, let's take a look at that. You have a soul. It is mortal and eternal. Nobody can give you eternal life. You already have it. Anybody who is offering to give you eternal life is giving you something you already have. This should tell you automatically that they're up to something, and they want something. If they've got to resort to subterfuge and sell you what you already have in order to make you do what they want. You don't go to hell. You don't go to heaven. You go to your next existence, whether that is outside of this planet or elsewhere or in a spirit realm or whatever, you would continue to exist and you go on to something different. What's the next part of it?
Okay. Who made up the Adam and Eve myth and why? On Ancient Aliens show, it was told that in the Hebrew Talmud, Adam's first wife was named Lilith, then was banished because she was evil. Good grief.
She was banished, according to the Talmud, Lilith was banished for not doing what Adam said. She was, in essence, the first feminist. However, the whole story of Adam and Eve, Lilith, the Garden of Eden, and all of that is actually a corruption of a number of different origin tales. And scholars of religion, and note I am not saying religious scholars, because scholars of religion go approach this without coming from a specific point of view that doesn't permit them to see countering evidence and countering information. Scholars of religion will tell you that all of this is based off of Babylonian and Sumerian origin myths, like the Epic of Gilgamesh. Yep, that original story 4,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, not quite as original as it's built out. All the same, pretty much all the creation mythology that we have on this planet, whether it comes from the West, from the East, from the North of the South Americas, from Australia, all of it has been adapted. All of it has been corrupted from the original. None of it is completely unreliable. Does it still have any value? Yes, as a way of understanding things, it can be useful, but don't take it to be the literal truth, no matter who's saying it.
A lot of them are variations of history that originated from off planet.
Yeah, like a lot of the stories of the old Greek and Roman gods, you know, when they're running around misbehaving and you know, the liaisons they get into with each other and humanity, those didn't even take place on this planet. They're corrupted versions of tales. You've ever played the game Telephone? Well, yeah. Now add that to a couple thousand years with a highly short lifespan on another planet, and you've got a game of telephone that you've never seen before. And that's exactly what the case is with a lot of these old tales.
If you guys want to really get into something, you can have a lot of fun. And what you want to do is look up paganism in the Catholic Church. Put it in your Google search and enjoy yourself. There's several hundred pages of information that shows you exactly why the Pope wears the clothes that he does, the reason for the scepters, where the scepter came from, the ideology behind it, and all that sort of happy horse hockey. So if you want to know, and you're really serious about it, a major religion, if they've got a set of people that they want to fill their collection plate from, deems them able to, contribution is better than none at all. Yeah, okay. You latch onto these little groups. You subvert control and assimilate them into your society, whether that's religious or whatever, doesn't matter. And you fill your collection plate accordingly. I would suggest everybody take a look at that. Seriously.
It's worth noting that the term Catholic means universal. And that's exactly what Catholicism attempted to do in its early days. Adapt and co-opt everything it ran across in order to assimilate everyone.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to finish this question, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll take our mid break, and then in about 30 minutes. Okay. Let me finish the question. Let's see. Oh, also, my friend believes that Jesus was the ransom for our original sin, and I don't even believe that there was an original sin. Again, who and why? Imagine her reaction if I tell her it was reptiles.
Yeah, the original sin was, at least, in terms of the Garden of Eden, it wasn't committed by humanity. That whole tale is an allegory for how the reptoids basically ruined our lives on this lovely little planet that had set up to be our home and set up to be a perfect paradise for 3D human beings. Well, the reptoids came, they made, some of the water poisonous, and they made poisonous things that bit, and they made venomous things that stung, and they made things that would kill you if you eat them, and they made parasites, and they adapted microbes and turned them loose to be diseases and all kinds of stuff. They changed women so that childbirth would be dangerous and painful. They changed men so that, there'd be limitations to how they could interact with other people. They did a whole slew of stuff, up to and including reducing our lifespan from 1,000 to 1,500 years to 50 to 100, making it so that we had to suffer all these genetic diseases and various things that just aren't present in other 3D human populations unless somebody's gone in and made a mess. That whole tale is an allegory for how the reptoids came and messed up our little paradise.
Okay, yeah,
and it was not our fault, no matter how much the reptoids like to say, it's your fault, you asked for this. It's not true.
And you're going to hell, sinner.
Yeah, and then the last remark of this person that asked those last couple questions was, thanks for everything. I can't wait to leave this place. Drake, hurry up, get her done.
We're working on it, believe me.
To all the ears that are listening, we are so grateful to have your presence in this situation. When we are able to lift this veil of lies and control and deceit, I hope that the poison in so many Terrans' hearts will be alleviated so very many of us are lost in our own agreements to the society of how it is and how to be. Is the scope of this operation one of the largest in recent galactic history?
Yes.
Okay, and do you envision the process of healing to be after the disclosure speed bump, or will this be as everything on a combination basis?
It'll be on a combination basis. No plan survives the first engagement with the enemy, and we are in active engagements. So when it comes to things like planning exactly how this is going to happen, I couldn't tell you. It'll be as it is most appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Everyone listening, participating, answering, and presenting our megalithic amount of questions, thank you so much for who you are and all that you do and what you all do and how you all do it. We all we got, we all we need. Okay.
Why, thank you.
You don't say.
It is wise to start. Is it wise to start confronting our friends and family with the possibility that our whole reality can change in the near future, thus crushing all of their paradigms and belief systems? Or is it better to live and let live and offer guidance through example and try to calm people's fears the best we can? Which is better?
I'd take the second, but I would say, if you feel safe, if you have the opportunity to use a teachable moment and it's safe for you, do so. Not everybody is going to be capable and ready and willing to take in this information and process it. There's going to be quite a lot of people who are so fully indoctrinated into their pre-existing ideas that absolutely no stance introduced by somebody outside of themselves is going to make a difference. With those people, the only thing you can really do is live and let live, and let them handle themselves. With those who are open and able to learn, when the opportunity presents itself to present information in a way that is not pushy or harmful and respects that individual's sovereignty and intelligence, then do so. It never helps to shove things down, whether it's right or wrong. It never helps to shove something down somebody else's throat. Never helps to preach. Never helps to dictate. Let people self-discover. It's really better that way.
Okay, at the moment that we instantaneously go to 4D, is that when our bodies will become young again, or is that something that will happen at a later time also?
It'll happen instantaneously when we hit that transition point.
Okay. Okay. Having heard that in part of healing, our skin will be clear and as it should be again. If you've got freckles in 3D, will you get them in 4D too?
Yeah, freckles are part of Alpha Centauri heritage.
Well, it says I only ask because I have heard that freckles can lead to cancers. But then in 4D, cancer won't be an issue, right? But then in 4D, cancers won't be an issue, right?
Cancer won't be an issue in 4D. Freckles are not what leads to cancer. What leads to cancer is a cancerous mole. Mm-hmm. And that is different from a freckle. A freckle and a mole are actually different things.
Right. Okay. Lots in the news today, and I only got through a few blurbs, and then I see that Glenn Beck is saying that in the next 24 hours they're holding some more major stuff. If you haven't gotten to this yet, where do we stand right now, Drake? Should I finally take that extra cash out of my bank tonight? The truck is full of gas, at least. Today I started looking at houses to finally have a place of my own again for me and my daughter. Any advice on this? Wait it out, I guess. Thank you, and God bless.
Just be prepared to make a stand where you're at. Don't worry about things being too nasty, because that's not the way it's going to be from everything that's been being done. You can most likely look towards a very nice transition. I don't necessarily mean it ain't going to have some bumps in the road, but it also means that you're not going to have to worry about the world coming to an end, or any of that fun stuff. Most of that fun and games has been, as I said, attended to. So look at it positively, okay?
Okay. Question, who seeded the Australian Aboriginals, Cornish and Japanese? Thanks.
The Japanese were seeded were a combination of Androni and Procyon genetics. The Aboriginals would have came from either Vega or Sirius or Nakote, as they're pretty much all same genetic pool of people. What was the other one?
Okay, we had the Comish, the Aboriginals, and the Japanese.
Comish were Native Americans, weren't they? I think so. That would be, then they're likely from Dakote, which is the planet in the Tegeta system.
Okay. Question for everybody. Is there any way that there are beings out there that we've seen, in cartoons and stuff like Transformers, Thundercats, Ninja Turtles, Wookiees, and why not, Mogways?
Yeah, they exist.
They actually do exist?
They exist. Not all of them are intersectable with your own personal reality, though, which means that you might not be shaking hands with a Wookiee or a Mowgli. But, yeah, they exist. Some of them have managed to intersect, and there are beings in the Silver Legion that come from some of these so-called fictional worlds.
Okay. About how long will people have to decide to stay 3D or go 4D? I have heard that those that stay 3D will think that we have died. Does that mean that memory will be wiped away?
No, as far as I know, they won't think that we will have died, because they'll be packed onto a ship and voluntarily will leave the planet. So as for how long they'll have to decide, I really don't know.
Yeah, we don't have a time frame at this point on how long they'll have to decide. It's depending on several other mitigating circumstances and situations at this point.
Okay. For those who wish to remain in 3D, will they continue at the same technological level that we are at now, or will the repressed technologies be available, or will it be more natural type of environment that we have been on, if not interfered with? Will there be a cabal-type condition in the new 3D world?
There better not be a cabal type in the new 3D world. There will be oversight to make sure that this doesn't take place. Last thing we want to do is spread that meme any farther than it has to go. As for tech level, it's likely going to be a combination of planet-friendly tech that exists and planet-friendly tech that exists and has been suppressed. So you'll have access to things that have been developed on this planet by human beings but have been suppressed. There may be limited access to appropriate off-world tech that is appropriate for that level of spiritual development and that does not conflict with your need to develop your own. It's generally not a good idea to have everything given to somebody. It leads to bad situations where they don't really have a firm understanding and how it came about, and that way if there is loss in information, they can't rebuild it, they just lose it again. So, we'd rather teach a man to fish than give him a fish.
Okay. Golly gee, we're on page 6 of 16 pages of questions. Okay. Are there still clones, and if so, how about how many, and what will we do with them? I'm assuming that they also have emotions?
Yes, there are still clones. As far as what's going to be done with them, it's not something the general public needs to work, to really be concerned with. And far as their emotions, I don't know. I mean, you think they're not going to be left alive for much longer. Let's put it that way.
Are grays biologic or synthetic?
They're biological synthetics.
They're hive-minded parasites.
Okay, so they're both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking of something that could be done that would allow those of us that are trying to make a change a bit more of an edge, would be to supply us with more advanced computers that cannot be corrupted or infiltrated by the powers that were. So do you think this could be possible?
I would love one. Sign me up.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, let's get started working on that, folks. All right. All you computer techs out there, start building us a uncorruptible, separate computer system. All right. Is our sun a Stargate or not?
Yes.
Yes.
But the answer is yes?
Yes, it's a Stargate.
Yeah.
Most stars are.
Actually, all stars are networked together, too.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Knowing
where
that the
Stargate
ultimate...
came from.
What was that, honey? I'm sorry.
That's where the term Stargate came from.
Oh, okay. All right. Next question is, knowing that the ultimate goal, DNA manipulation, seems to have been a playground here for millennia, every entity race on every level want us to reach another evolution level. Imagine from one moment to the other, everyone's getting in clear the truth about our history and manipulation. In a matter of a second, everyone will be on the same page. It's just very frustrating sometimes when you see what our brothers and sisters are being forced to do. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible to create containers that are larger on the inside than the outside? I think we already asked that question on our last show.
Yeah. In honor of Doctor Who, the English translation for this is the TARDIS effect.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Once we're in 4D, since I'll be getting younger, even though I'm postmenopausal now, would I then be able to bear children again if I chose to have children that way?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What if I've had my organs removed?
Tolek does discuss this quite extensively in his interviews. He makes it very clear that if you had organs removed, false teeth, replacement limbs, maybe you've got a titanium plate at the base of your skull, you'll be returned to factory default, so to speak. You won't need to worry about those things. They'll be gone in an instant, and your body will be once again perfect in an instant.
Hallelujah. They took more plumbing out of me than I knew I had. Okay. Will we necessarily be separated from our loved ones, or will our family units, our partners, our children, our siblings, our parents, etc., as we know and experience them, be preserved and ongoing upon ascension?
We've actually answered this question probably about 3 or 4 times. We will stay together.
You won't be separated, at least not on a permanent basis, and you won't be separated by an external influence. Free will choice must be honored. So even if your brother or your cousin or your mom or whatever decides, hey, I want to go on to a 3D planet while you're going to be, sticking it out and staying here and see what happens next, that's okay. That's their choice. They're not gone forever. In terms of your understanding and feeling of that person, you'll see them again in a blink of an eye.
Okay. Question for Sunfire. Were the GOM, G-O-M, of Star Trek based on the reptilians? It sounds like the person who came up with the Star Trek got that particular species from the info on the reptoids.
The which species?
G-O-M.
I don't know about that one. I know the Jem'Hadar were based on the Draco, but as far as that one specifically, I don't know. I mean, when you take into consideration that about 95% of the original Star Trek franchise, present, new, remade movies aside, are, based on facts and reality, and there's, a bunch of different races that are based on various races across the universe.
Okay.
It's entirely possible that one could have been based on the reptoids too, but I do know that the Jem'Hadar were based on the Draco, and so was the Cardassians. But the Cardassians, well, they're represented as reptoids. They're actually it's a bit of a joke, but I mean they're based on a cross between the reptoids and the Talsedians.
Okay. After things are said and done, if we wanted to get a ship and go cruising around the universe, will we be able to do that and get one that looks similar to, say, a ship from Star Trek or other science fiction shows on movies?
For personal craft, some of those designs are available. Yes, personal craft will be available. There is also stuff like the Galactic Patrol, which does have scout and exploratory arms. So if you're really, really keen on cruising the universe and seeing what's out there, there is ample opportunity. It's not the kind of thing you want to do alone, let me tell you that. One person on a ship for thousands of years gets boring. In my former life as a Tausedian pilot, I did spend up to 100 years at a time on solo missions, and I have the psychology or the psychological profile that enables me to do this without going stark raving mad. But even after about 100 years, I wanted to come back and see my friends again. So it's generally not a good idea to go out cruising solo for long periods of time, which is why we have outfits like the Galactic Patrol and their exploratory arm, which you usually get together with a crew of people who you enjoy and love and go off exploring for a while. It's great.
Okay. Next question. let's see. Will we be using money or currency in 4D? If not, should we spend our retirement savings now before ascension?
Money is not used. As for spending your retirement savings, keep in mind that there may be aspects of the monetary system for up to 10 to 20 years after transition, because you don't get rid of something like that overnight. I wouldn't do anything with your retirement savings that you are not willing to do with your retirement savings now, just because we don't know exactly what the conditions are going to be like.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's one thing to put out about how that monetary, generally speaking, monetary systems do not exist in, the higher dimensions. But here on Terra specifically, it's going to take a while to transition the people out of this concept of monetary and value system. And so you're going to need a little bit of money for rapid transition. At least here on Terra, anyway. Okay.
Were the Incas influenced by the reptilians? They changed from worshiping nature, especially the Pachama, or Mother Earth, to a sun god. I have read that reptilians like to pose themselves as sun gods. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true that they do like to pose themselves as sun gods or star gods. A lot of human religion was influenced by the reptoids. You could really see their handiwork in terms of anything that is based upon control of other people. That's got reptoid all over it.
Okay. All right. The Bible said that in the beginning, Creator God created the heavens and the earth, but then God made Adam and Eve from dust. It doesn't make any sense. This God that made Adam and Eve, not Creator, must be of a higher dimension ET and not source, right?
Well, you have three distinct entities represented in the Bible. You have I Am, the Creator. You have the Elohim, which is a plural, and you have the Lord, your God. The Creator is source. The Creator created everything in existence. Everything in existence is a fragment of Creator. So the printer I'm looking at on my desk, that's of Creator. The glass of water is of Creator. I'm of Creator. My sorely bad attempts at knitting on the coffee table is also of the Creator. You're of the Creator. Your dogs are of the Creator. The sky is of the Creator. The void between stars is of the Creator. Everything that exists is of the Creator. And as such, the Creator is neither for you or against you, good or evil, not this kind of personal bully boy who does your bidding if you beg right. That's a reptoid concept. The Elohim are the ones who are credited with life on this planet and seeding human life. The Elohim is a plural, and that can be understood as a reference to the 24 species of humans, 24 to 26 species, that were involved in creating human life and bringing their own favorite plants and animals and whatnot to this planet so that their descendants could have a chance to enjoy some of the things they did, like blueberries and avocados and grapefruits, actually grapefruits are a Terran hybrid, oranges, pomelos, things like that. Then you have the Lord your God, this big bully boy who came down from the sky, started issuing edicts and demands, pushed people around, made them his slaves, and basically acted like a reptoid tyrant, which is exactly what he was.
Okay. All right. We are going to go ahead and take a mid-break, and then I will come back with the rest of the questions. Everybody go get a refreshment. This is, Drake, do you want to tell them about this song by SRC Milestones?
I'd be delighted to. A lot of people put religiosity in the wrong place. A lot of people don't understand it when they hear something that is non-religious, yet contains certain elements of religiosity within it. And the reason I like this song is because of the combination of its content and what it says. And I do believe people will like it. Okay?
Okay. And I'm looking at my upload, and it's not long enough, so I'm going to play what is here of the song, and in the meantime, I guess I'll spend my break trying to upload the whole song. So anyway, here we go with the first part of, it's called Angel Song. Okay, I apologize for all the confusion and mess there with the file just not being properly uploaded and trying to upload it at the last second, but it was worth the wait, don't you think?
I thought so.
I thought so.
A lot of people are going to find objection to this song in some ways, and yet it offers the same questions that a lot of people have been asking themselves, and that's the reason I wanted that song played. This goes to who would steal your dreams? Who would deny you yourself? And what would be the agenda? What would be the goal of something that would be that insidious? So, also, there are a number, and I mean a great number, of incarnates on this planet whose memories will return a little bit sooner than others, simply because they are incarnates. I suggest that these questions will be answered. First, to those of us who are most active, then lesser. Those who do not know will suddenly have a dream, will suddenly acquire the knowledge. At a certain point, all of us will begin to remember. And this is the crux, the reason for these shows, to give you the information, to give you that one little piece of something that you had forgotten in your past that triggers a little memory. And that little memory is curious. And that night you have a dream about it, and it opens up a wondrous world to you. Mystery, imagination, fun and games, and pure, unadulterated, innocent wonder. Wow, look at that. The younger generation specifically says there's no future. You just simply don't remember yet. But it's coming. And that's all I got to say about this particular musical interlude.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, let's see. Mike, thanks to all of you. I have been here since you started. My question is, since all the ETs and higher races know well of the creator or source, who created the creator?
The creator came from another universe, which was created by another source. That source came from another universe, which was created by another source. That source came from another universe, which was created by another source, and so on, and so on, and so on, until at some point each of us is source of a universe, if that is what we choose, or passenger within another source's universe, part of them, if that is what we choose. There is no prime creation. There is no start. It is infinite. It has always been. I know it sounds a bit mind-blowing. People ask, well, how could this have been? Well, the moment it first came to be, it had always been. And it will never end.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. if someone was ever approached by a fae and offered something or asked for help, what would be the smartest course of action? I've seen stories of people who have gotten into trouble with mischievous fays or fairies, and especially when their help was requested.
Generally, if you are offered something, refuse it. If you are asked for help, accept it in return for a favor. The fae do everything very contractually. If you do something for a fae and the fae says, I thank you, or I am grateful, or acknowledges a debt in any way, they owe you a favor. And they'll hold to it. The fae are very, very good about following the rules like that. And they're also very, very good about trying to trick people who aren't aware of the rules. Never say thank you to a fae, because then you are acknowledging a debt. Unless you say, I acknowledge that you've done this without expecting anything in return. Make it clear that you're not entering into a contract without your own knowledge and say so. Generally, I try to avoid working with a fae. Well, not because they're not because they're a danger to me, but because when you tick off the fae, they will never, ever, ever leave you in peace. It's quite annoying. Consider a friend of mine who got into an altercation with one of Mab's sons, and in that altercation, Mab's son died. Well, Mab's son started it, but Mab still had to punish this friend because one of her family members died. Fae Honor is very, very strict about stuff like that. And it wasn't until reparations were made that Mab's curse on this individual could be started to lift. So, yeah, I don't like messing with the Fae if I can avoid it.
Okay. Next question is, how do you explain what ghosts are? Do they exist, or are they souls stuck between third and fourth dimensions? Are they demons? And will they be enlightened or move into the light?
Ghosts are, they're not stuck between third and fourth. They're not demons. Ghosts are basically, when you're dealing with what I consider an intelligent haunting, is a soul that has not quite moved on from the ethereal realm and is for some reason either choosing to remain here on planet or is stuck here on planet because of some unfinished business. Now there's the intelligent hauntings, which are, where you can interact with them, and then there's the what are known as residual hauntings, which are more like a fragment of a broken video, like you have just this one scene that plays over and over and over again, either at a specific date and time or, every single day at a specific time, this specific thing happens. That's what, is considered a residual haunting. Generally speaking, those evolve from a traumatic event or some other high-energy, high-impact event, and the surrounding area absorbs the energy of that event, and then when a person walks into that area, the event is triggered. I hope that helps.
Sunfire is actually an expert in this.
Yeah, my family for many generations has been involved in the paranormal.
Okay. Thank you for all the work that you do, Tanaath. Do you know any more about the Inca culture and their origins? I have learned that the Incas were also warriors and conquered many other tribes in South America, creating a vast empire. Was there influence by reptilians also?
Pretty much every human species on this planet has had some influence, or every human culture on this planet has had some influence or interaction or run-ins with the reptoids at some time. We see in every mythology and creative myths, we see the entry of a serpent in some form or another, sometimes bearing gifts, sometimes making bargains, often running off with the women. these things can, if you have an interest in the scholarly stuff, there is material out there in which you can go and read or browse and find more information on that. Concerning the Incas specifically, I don't know who their forebears were. Likely Dakota, and probably, well, Sunfire.
And they're a combination of the Dakota, Procyon, and there's one other one I can't think about.
Is it the Aldebarans?
No, the Aldebarans were the ones that influenced the Germanics and part of the Italians.
Right.
There's the ones that influenced the Spanish, and I cannot remember off the top of my head the ones that had the influence in the Spanish. But I know it's a combination of Dakota and Procyon aside from that, because the Procyons were one of the strongest influences in the original Mayan culture.
Yeah, as noted earlier, there was a point where the Incas turned from fairly peaceful people in harmony with Earth to an empire, and that definitely coincided with reptoid intervention. But other than that, I really don't have a lot of information on the situation.
Okay. Question, are orbs spirits?
Orbs can be spirits. They can be probes from, or what, the closest terminology would be probes, little scanning devices or information gathering devices. And orbs can also be group souls, or just a soul that doesn't want to take a physical form, deciding to come and take a look and see what's going on. That like a dimensional or higher dimensional soul, or something like that.
Yeah, the easiest form of energy to take is actually a sphere, and that's why orbs are round. If you're not feeling like defining yourself, then a sphere is perfectly fine. Sometimes it's just a bit of energy fluff.
Okay. How accurate is the law of one? That question was directed at Drake.
I think I can
any of the
one.
others of you can answer.
Oh, no,
well, you got to. If
can
you read the
one.
law of one, you'll find within it discrepancies where it disagrees with itself, and I'm going to stipulate I'm going to stipulate simply that anything that disagrees with itself cannot be a perfection, which is what the Creator is supposed to be. Therefore, I feel it loses its validity. Okay?
Okay. All right. Property ownership on this point.
Sunfire's got a comment on that.
Yeah. I
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
In regards to law of one, raw material, it comes from the Galactic Confederation. It's channeled. Let's look at this. Let's look at it this way. It's channeled information, which automatically discounts it, and it comes from the Galactic Confederation, which is known to be the Association of the Reptoids. Do the math.
Okay. Next question is, property ownership on this planet has been used for mass manipulation. What are the implications of property ownership in the fourth dimension, particularly home/house/hut, whatever? So, same house, new design, etc.?
We don't have ownership of property, whether, in terms of land, in terms of buildings. Again, these are societies that make heavy use of replicators. It's not necessary to own a car, a spaceship, a house, whatever. But that doesn't stop you from living in a house if you build it, or if you get it from a friend, or somebody gives it, says, hey, I made you this great house, why don't you go live in it? There's nothing stopping that. It's not a matter of paying taxes to the county or the government for it. It's not a matter of having title or ownership or deed. One way Tolik described it is if you find a Great Lake and you want to put up your cabin there, you can. Nothing's stopping you. Somebody else can also put their cabin up, and generally out of politeness, they're not going to put it right where it's going to be interfering with you, so you can both enjoy the lake in relative peace and comfort, and if you choose to interact with one another, you can, and that is my understanding as well. You can set yourself up a nice little house and live comfortably. Nobody's going to stop you. Nobody's going to come and take it away. Others might choose to live near you, and then you'd have to negotiate with them whether it's too close or whatnot. People are usually pretty polite about stuff like that. Everybody will have a place to live. Nobody's going to be homeless.
Will the slate be wiped clean? Like, we'll kind of like wake up and, each find our place? Or will we still be in the same house, in the same place, and, and everything pretty much be the same, but with the knowledge that we're free to be somewhere else? You know what I mean? Like,
I hate to say it, but I really don't know. That's one of those things that it's going to play out as it's going to play out. One thing I can tell you is that there's absolutely nothing to fear. You're going to have what you need no matter what. So will your family and loved ones. So you don't need to panic. You don't need to fear. You don't need to worry about this. Your needs will be taken care of one way or another.
Yeah, there'll be different people from like the Galactic Federation of Planets, the Silver Legion, the Andromeda Council, that like that to help mentor and guide and make the transition a little bit easier anyway. That will be available, to help as needed.
Okay. I think this one was asked before. Just tell me if it was. At what dimension are you able to create planets and other solar systems?
As a personal individual, I don't think there is a specific dimension that's limited to.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I do know of 40 races. I know 5D races that can create solar systems, using different technology and that kind of thing. I remember it being mentioned by, I believe it was Alex Collier, that the Zenite, which is Morne's people, are capable of even creating solar systems and planets, and they're 5D scientists.
Okay.
Yep. And it's typically a group effort whenever it's done.
Okay. All right. This next one's a little bit of a lengthy question. I hope that you can clarify this for me. When a person or pet dies a physical death, do they go to 4D? If so, it has been told that when our solar system goes from 3 to 4D, we will not have to go through a physical death to arrive at 4D. You had mentioned on last week's show that we will be reunited with our loved ones and our beloved pets who have passed away prior to the shift. Since we will remain on this planet as 4D humans in a 4D world, is it a fair assumption to say that those who have passed away previously are still here, but we cannot see them because of the veil between 3 and 4D? And once we arrive in 4D, will we do so with our physical bodies, but how will our late relatives and friends manifest themselves if they have left their physical bodies behind when they passed on?
They'll be in the same dimension as you, so the issue of manifestation isn't going to be a matter at all. Right now, when your relatives come to you, they come to you as spirit projections. If you are one of these people who has spirit sight or spirit hearing or whatnot, you might be able to interact with them. Not everybody does. I have the ability to hear, but not the ability to see, for instance. And I feel, but I don't, I don't see at all. In terms
I'm that
of,
way. I don't see or hear, but I feel. I feel like I feel their presence, a warmth,
And they currently send a projection in order to view or interact or encourage you or, in some cases send a message or to get you out of danger, et cetera, et cetera. So they're still around, and a lot of them are in the 4th or higher dimension. Some of them are in the spirit realms, which are slightly different. After the transition, they'll be able to come and go freely. Using a spirit projection, they can send themselves in an interactable form to you, but it's not a full presence there. In order to bring a full presence there, they might have to take a ship and land. In order for them to interact with you now in the physical, they would have to use technology to create a 3D placeholder body for them to be able to interact with you and then take a ship and land.
Okay. All right, next question. I just love listening to your programs. In the past, okay, this is for you, Drake. In the past, Drake, you have said that we should watch The Matrix, which I have several times now. My question is, will we be able to be programmed so to learn how to fly a helicopter like was done in the movie?
Very similarly, and that exact procedure is being used presently and has been for quite a few years. So all those that go poo-pooing what we put on the show, I would suggest you do your own research. I did. The military seems to like that particular procedure very well because you can't play with the information they want to put in your head. I mean, there's, advantages to everything, and that's one of them. Another part of it is that the information is without distraction and that it can be in very concentrated form. Now, the present system does require a few hours rather than just a few seconds. But as things advance, I'm sure that will become available. Okay?
Yeah, we use methodologies that provide something that's rather akin to instant learning. And the way it works is, you get it on the day of, and then it takes a few days to sort of settle in and become second nature.
Okay. On another note, Drake, is diet critical to increasing our vibration prior to ascension? And Drake, are you a vegan?
I'm only partially vegetarian. My wife's only partly vegetarian, but she is much more so than I am. Therefore, I get the best of both worlds, pretty much. And yet, also in the process, diet is important now and will be all of your existence. That is what you use for your energy, and that's what you use as, in this realm, the building blocks for what you are. You are what you eat. Woo, think about that. I'm a corn plant that kills bugs. Interesting. You ever hear of the book, The Day of the Triffids? That'd be something to think about. I don't believe that people really realize or have any real comprehensive understanding as to how deep this stuff goes. It's like wheat.
I can talk a little bit about that.
About 100 years ago, they screwed it up badly. I mean, they exposed it to every kind of radiation known to man, all kind of whatever they could think of to do to it, and really screwed it up badly. And I'm going to suggest this openly, and nutritionists can all go crazy if they wish, if somebody can find originally natural wheat, go ahead and consume it. It's a lot better for you than you think. I doubt that you're going to be able to find any, but there's some places where I know that it grows, and if you can find those spots, take one plant, not several, one or two plants, moisten the roots, make sure that you take care of it. Develop. Now, this is something when you transplant or fool with plants at all. Develop a rapport with the plant and empathy, a real, no, I'm not going to do anything drastic, but this is going to really be far out because I'm intending to take you from where you are and put you in another place. This involves taking you from the Mother Earth, putting you in a small container, and transporting you. And yes, I know it's a harrowing experience, but I don't know any other way to do this. So this is what I intend to do. I want you to know what I'm doing so that you will not be fearful of it or of me. Then in a very loving manner, a very caring manner, just like you feel with babies, attend to the plant, both taking it out, putting it in you can put it back seat, trunk, whatever, and transplanting it into its new location. Talk to it. It's been found that plants that are talked to do about 10 times as well as ones that are ignored. Attitude-stored plants cause their health to react accordingly. So there's a lot in this. Nutrition is vital. I'll let the girls have it from there.
Yep. There's actually a really interesting book. I can't remember who wrote it. It's called The Secret Life of Plants. If you could find a copy, it's worth the read. I'll say that. I picked it up up, my grandmother had a whole bunch of old books from the 70s, and I went out camping, and, as I was enjoying the sunlight, I picked up that book and read it cover to cover, and I have to say it was a very enlightening read. In terms of diet and nutrition, you aren't required to eat a certain way in order to ascend. Now, that said, you're going to want to eat in a manner that supports human health while attempting to not be a participant in the monstrosity that is corporate farming. A manner that is most supportive of human health includes an emphasis on fat and protein over carbohydrates. Carbohydrates and sugar should be very low and should come only from fruits, vegetables, leafy plants, and non-grains. You can have some grains, but if you're at all prone to gaining weight, get rid of the grain, and I'd even say get rid of the starch. There should be no corn sugar, whether it's called liquid invert sugar, whether it's called fruit sugar, whether it's called high fructose corn syrup. There should be nothing of the sort. There should be no agave nectar, which is basically the same thing as high fructose corn syrup, with one difference, and that's that it comes from an agave plant instead of a corn plant. It's chemically processed the exact same way. Honey in limited amounts is okay. Evaporated cane syrup, if you're not prone to gaining weight, you can have some of that. It's still sugar. Sugar and starch will still kill you, make you fat, give you diabetes, and make you sick. It's not being fat that makes you sick. Being fat is a symptom of a broken metabolism that results from an overconsumption of sugar and starch, particularly wheat and free fructose, which have extremely deleterious effects on your metabolism.
Sugar also feeds cancer.
Yes, it does. All cancers feed on sugar, on blood glucose. If you have instead of a high percentage of blood glucose, if you have blood ketones fueling you from fat, cancer can't eat that. A ketogenic diet is very supportive of an anti-cancer state. Now that said, meat contributes to health. Human beings on this planet are omnivores. We are meant to eat both plants and animals. And that includes cooked plants and animals, as some nutrients are only available from cooking, just as some nutrients are only available raw. So that's a mix of both. That said, I would say seek your sources of meat wisely. Wild caught is ethical if it's sustainable, such as sustainable wild caught fisheries. Farmed is ethical if it is farmed according to actual, natural, old-fashioned farming methods, or even small-scale modern farming methods. Feedlots and factory farms in which thousands of animals or hundreds of animals are crowded together in the same place, or a crop is monoproduced on the same soil year after year. Doesn't matter if you're a vegetarian or if you're a meat eater or what. If you're eating it from a factory farm, it is bad for you and it is bad for Mother Earth. If you have the opportunity, I suggest that you go directly to farmers in order to seek arrangements for getting food from them. It takes a little more effort, but in eliminating the Safeways and Loblaws and other Winn-Dixies and other middlemen in the world, you will possibly get it for less money, and the farmer will definitely get it for more money than they would if he'd sold it to a feedlot where it then got put through the commercial ringer, slaughtered in a big plant full of contaminants, and fed to you after you buy it in saran wrap at the store. Invest in a freezer, a good freezer, and proper food preparation and storage techniques, and you can eat ethically and economically and healthily for very decent money. I often buy what are called freezer packs from farmers who will then arrange with a butcher to sell an animal, a small-scale butcher, not necessarily like a meat packing plant, where I can get the cuts that I want in the amounts that I want frozen. So I have to make the effort thought, but a day in the refrigerator ain't going to hurt it while it's thawing out. It just means that I have to plan my meals and not eat spur of the moment. It is possible to eat meat ethically. There is a book called Compassionate Carnivore, The Compassionate Carnivore. It is by, I believe, Catherine Friend. I would recommend that you read this book. It's a very good source of information on exactly how harmful the factory farming process is and what damage it does to people, to animals, to the environment, and also what alternatives are available, actual alternatives. If you want to change the way meat is farmed, you're not going to change it by quitting meat, because they're still going to cater to the people who are eating meat. The ones who are going to be able to change the way meat is farmed are the meat eaters, by saying, I am not going to eat feedlot animal anymore. I'm not going to eat a chicken that has never been touched by anything but a machine. I'm not going to be eating eggs that come from chickens that have their beaks cut off so that they don't peck each other to death because they've got too many chickens in one space. It is the meat eaters who need to make a stand and say, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go to a farmer directly that I know and trust and get food from them.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was on the mute button.
It happens.
I hope my dogs didn't distract everybody there. Okay, but they did their job really well. So, let's see. I heard that the Cabal and their minions had been injected or infected with nanobots or something like that. So that when it is time to collect or arrest these people, these nanobots will actually be turned on. Effectively, these corrupt people will then be knocked out or put to sleep if need be, or be terminated as required. Do you know if this is true?
I don't believe I've seen any corroborating evidence or heard anything to that effect.
Yeah, me either.
What about you, Drake?
I try not to listen to such things.
Okay.
From what I understand, that rumor actually came from Cobra, and so, you can automatically assume at that point it's disinformation.
Even if there is an element of truth, it's probably not entirely as presented.
Okay. 3 years ago, I was not that interested in finding the truth. Changes on perceiving my view of the world through forgiveness. Are we in a dream? Is this an illusionary universe and I am waking up?
It sure feels that way sometimes. In some respects, yes. The reality that has been presented to us as real around us is constructed. It's illusionary. We have this world built up in which we think we got to get a house and pay a mortgage, we got to have a car and drive around, we got to have a job and work for someone else, or we got to be an entrepreneur and have employees, or we got to do this and that and the other thing, grind our way at the stone until we die. That is an illusion. That is not reality. This is constructed to keep us blind, stupid, and dumb. And dumb in the sense of not only in all senses of the word, and keep us producing for our oppressors mindlessly while they benefit at our expense. This is not the real world.
Okay. What about body cleanliness in 4D? I enjoy a hot shower, especially after being out in the sun. Will we have to get used to something a little different?
No, a lot of people still love having showers. I know one of my Tausedian brothers is highly fastidious. If he and he gets into combat. He has killed quite a few attacking reptilians. And if he even gets so much as a blood splatter on himself, he immediately goes and has a shower. He likes his showers. So, if you do like showers, those are still available. A lot of people like them for fun and recreation, too.
There's the water showers, and then they also have something very similar, what we call the sonic showers, which is a sound frequency. You can't hear it, but it basically does, still has the same effect of cleaning, but also kind of a little more massaging effect, which is really nice too.
Yep, yeah. And there's pools to swim in. Swimming is as popular up there as it is down here. There's a lot of different ways to, some of the recreations that we use are recognizable and still very highly enjoyed in higher dimensions.
Hot tubs, baths, all that still exists.
Natural hot springs are definitely prized.
Yeah, one of my most fondest memories is going to the hot springs on a planet with my friends and my crewmates, and I'm looking forward to visiting that place again very soon.
The Androni are sailing fanatics. They love sailing, and it's no wonder Andron has a Mediterranean climate, beautiful crystal blue oceans, full of fish and full of plants, and lovely, lovely islands with sandy beaches. And they sail all over the place, and they still enjoy swimming in the ocean, which is not salt water but sweet. Actually, most oceans on other planets are not salty at all, but drinkable water. This planet's salt water is not natural. It was added in an effort to control water supply, in an effort to control the population, and it was added by reptilians. Mother Earth has still managed to make a benefit out of something that was intended to be unilaterally negative. Salt water on this planet is very, very healing and good for your skin and good for what ails you as long as you don't drink it. But yeah, they have a lot of different things that would be recognizable to us now as entertainment and that we enjoy that they still do.
Okay. Okay. Can any of you comment on this Basel 3 stuff? Is it for real or is it fictitious?
Could I get a clip notes on what that is?
Yeah, I have no clue what
that would be a Drake question, I think.
Yeah, it's real if it can be put together. So far, it's not been accepted. So the problem with it is that until such time as it is accepted, it's still out there in Gaga land. Much as I don't like to be the bearer of bad tidings, that specifically is not good. At some time or another, it's going to be found that they're going to have to deal with these things. And that's part of the economics, that what they would like to do is have every bank on the planet act in a certain manner so it's predictable. That does not necessarily mean it's going to be good for us, one or the other. So that's something that definitely you have to take into consideration. Okay?
Okay. All right. I'm still having a hard time deciding whether or not to start eating meat again. Following what Tanaath said about I have been a vegetarian and lately pescatarian for over 17 years. Welfare issues plus humane slaughter have always been major obstacles for me. My question, please, is meat eaten in the higher dimensions, or is the use of replicators the preferred method of eating animal proteins? And will people become all vegetarians? And we kind of sort of answered parts of that.
Yeah, most people use replicators. When it comes, typically on positive planets, animals are not raised for meat because long since that has been scanned and put into the replicator. there is wild hunting and wild fishing. Those take place as a contract or a compact between hunter or fisher and prey, where the hunter goes out and then the prey volunteers itself, or in the case of the fish, takes the bait, knowing full well that it is bait, what's going to happen up from it, and chooses to offer itself in order to provide sustenance to other living beings. You don't take an animal that has not presented itself as prey. That's a major faux pas. And you don't take more than you need. That is also a major faux pas. This will sound familiar to anyone who has studied old North American native hunting practices, at least some of them, the more personal ones, and also on other continents of indigenous people, the hunting practices thereof. And it's no accident that it sounds similar, because that's how it's done. I myself am a hunter, and I don't hunt for trophy. I hunt for the table only. And if I go out and I have a year in which it's a bust, well, I enjoy the fact that I got a chance to get out in nature, which so rarely happens for city dwellers. And if I do manage to find prey and take an animal for the table, then I give thanks to that animal for its sacrifice and honor its life.
Okay. Last year, Tolek mentioned that the time as we know it this is last year, he mentioned that the time as we know it would cease to exist sometime this year, and that we will have anomalies with clocks and time counters. This didn't happen yet. Will it happen, and if so, when?
I don't know if it hasn't happened. I have personally experienced time anomalies, some major ones.
Yeah, same here.
I think what's going on is that time and people's perspectives of it and perception of it are changing. In higher dimensions, time as an objective thing still exists, but it's nowhere near as how shall I put this? Oftentimes it doesn't matter. Your perception of it and how it travels are two different things. It's way more fluid. You can go forward, you can go backwards too. You can make it stand still for a little while. It's much more fluid in how it acts. I know with higher dimensionals who aren't keeping their focus on Terra and used to the concept of time on Terra, if you gave one of them a watch and they went to work, they could go do their thing and look back and it'll be the next day and they haven't perceived it as being a day, or they can go and do something and look back and it would be a couple of seconds and maybe a lot more time has passed objectively to us than a couple of seconds. Or maybe they'll feel like they've been at it for hours and only a couple of seconds have passed, objectively. It's not linear like it is here.
Okay. I'm wondering if the black-skinned, here we go again, Rakshasas? Eastern, I think so, Rakshasas, Rakshasas, of the Eastern literature are the reptilians and reptoids. And who are the demons of the East and the West? The Greys?
Greys have been involved in the West and the East for a long time. Rakshasa might be a presentation of reptoids. Naga almost are. Various boogeymen have been present throughout our history. Some reptoids, some other species that have kept themselves more underground but are still, and I mean underground in terms of our awareness, not necessarily literally underground, although many times that is the case. but various negative entities and groups have been involved in this planet, despite the fact that it was supposed to be interdicted. And again, this goes back to certain someones who were sleeping in on the job, so to speak, or who sold us off outright. I usually see Rakshasas represented as felines rather than reptilians. I'm more familiar with Naga as being reptilian, but it could be that they're a representation of reptoids and or other unfriendlies.
Okay. And quit it. My friends out there said they didn't quite get that word. Could I please repeat it? Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. When greeting a new race, when we ascend, can we smile, or would the baring of our teeth be misconstrued as possibly being hostile? Would it be better to smile with lips closed?
Probably best to smile with lips closed until you see them doing something else. Most human species are going to recognize a smile for what it is, a smile, and they'll probably be grinning back with you. But if it looks non-human, play it safe.
Okay. When the Gnostics, Gnostics, mentioned the Archons, were they talking about the Greys and Anunnaki? I'm tongue-tied tonight. Anunnaki, or the Archons and Anunnaki, or are the Archons a different entity altogether?
They're a different entity altogether.
Yeah, the Archons that were referred to by the Gnostics and the Archons that are the same, as I understand it, as the Archons referred to by Robert M. Stanley, who got his terminology for them from the Gnostic texts and the Gnostic learnings. Those are what I call the Noom Dal Akaran, which in my language translates to bane of the living, and they are synthetic beings or organisms that are highly malicious, that feed on the energy of human consciousness. These are also the ones that sit on your chest if you wake up in the middle of the night. They're the ones that sit on your chest, the chest sitters that leave people feeling terrified. That's also been referred to as the night hag, but they're the Noom Dal Akaran. They're horribly negative, and they can be destroyed. They're really not nice things at all. If you ground and center and radiate your own inner light, that usually drives them off. Still mind meditation will drive one off if it's attached to your consciousness. They really can't stand still mind meditation, and the more you do still mind meditation, the yuckier you taste to them and the more likely they are to move on and find somebody else. If you're capable of destroying them with your own light, I'd say do so, because it's not nice to leave them loose to go off and find something else. They are involved with controlling human consciousness in that they try to manipulate people to generate negative energy. They are also working in conjunction with other controllers of human consciousness, such as the reptoids and other various negative species. They work out a pact in which, they'll go do what the other negatives want in return for having free reign down here to go do what they want. So it's sort of a I'll scratch your back if you scratch my back pact of evil, so to speak.
Okay.
Now, I don't like the term Archon anymore because people such as Cobra have used it for anyone and everyone who might be involved in controlling humans. So I really don't like using the term Archon anymore because of that. It's been diluted. There's no commonly held definition or commonly held explanation of precisely what that is. So I'd rather avoid using it.
Okay. All right. Is time a construct, or is it real?
I don't even know where to begin with that. it's both. It's something that is objectively real, but at the same time, it can operate as a construct if you know what you're doing. If you have a high enough skill and knowledge with physics and temporal science, you can treat it like a construct. It can be altered. It can be manipulated. It can be, it's not a straight linear thing that happens in a very, a tick, tick, tick fashion. It's fluid. It can be altered. It can be manipulated. You can opt out of it altogether if you really want to.
Okay. All right. How long until we don't have to raise livestock for food?
I would think shortly after transition, or as soon as replicators become available, whichever is first. Okay. Again, we're looking at something that's going to require a great deal of change planet-wide in order to deal with the whole infrastructure of the production, movement, and storage, and sale and distribution of food, of material products, consumer goods, things you need to keep yourself alive, things you need to keep yourself comfortable and happy. That's something that does not get changed overnight, especially if we still have any vestiges of a currency or economic system in place. These things are a process. It's a transition. It's not just one moment to the next. Oh, now we don't need to do that anymore. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I know that part of what is being planned in terms of utilizing the money that's been wrongfully stolen from humanity is dealing with some of these issues in such a way so that nobody's left hanging. We don't want to make it so that, tomorrow nobody's going to eat meat anymore that comes from a cow. Well, what happens to the poor cow farmer with his livelihood, right? We have an entire system that's been built up around this, and that needs to be addressed, and you don't change a system overnight.
Okay. Next question is, Drake, can you comment on David Wilcock's timeline of June 24th through July 2nd for event trigger? Last thought included in the fear porn is a threat of internet parasite attack to happen on June 21st. Should we take this seriously and stay off the internet on Friday? And last, I just want to say thank you.
This is going to get interesting. I will suggest that you get people stay off the internet. It's simpler than trying to explain what's being done about the problem. That's the only reason I'm giving that information.
On Friday,
as far as I can tell, there's nothing to be afraid of. So, still, it's there. Okay?
That information came through channeled sources, which tells you that, even if there's an element of truth to it, it's probably not as presented.
Okay, and what about David Wilcock's timeline of June 24th through July 2nd for an event trigger?
You have to understand where that sort of thing originates, and once you do, then you'll be aware that there isn't something there that will cause the event that's being sought. Okay?
Okay.
You're dealing with a whole bunch of so-called ancient prophetic timelines and things of this nature, and a lot of that stuff, as I have stipulated before and will continue to regurgitate, all right? And get this, please, people, really pay attention. It's real simple. Until something that has been prophesied takes place, it ain't real. All right? I don't care, it doesn't matter who says, oh, yes, it is. And I mean that quite literally. It does not make a difference. The difference is that you have a choice. Yay, nay, go or stay. What is it you want? Is that what you're after? See the whole place go to wherever the hard way? I I'm not allowing that in my backyard, and I'll leave it up to other people to decide whether they want it in theirs. But I strongly suggest, and you can go from there. Okay?
Okay, Drake and Tanaath, do you think that our ET friends could lend Neil Keenan a universal translator to assist him in finding and communicating with a good attorney for Nilu? And would they also agree to telepathically evaluate the attorney chosen so as to be sure he is not or will not be tempted to be bought off by the cabal, as the prosecutor of Nilu's apparently already was?
If we could, maybe get a shutdown on the ground, I'm sure that could be arranged. But until the good guys can land, it's probably not going to happen.
Now I'm going to take that a step further. Because of the severity and importance of the situation, etc., I have taken it upon myself to make requests of certain individuals, specifically Neil, and request what can we do to help. So as that information comes out, everybody will be made aware of it. And mark my words, I'm not willing to back up. I don't know about the rest of the world, but some of these things have been going on far too long, and they've been going on at a rate or level that never should have been in the first place. So I take simplistic and personal issue with the fact that these things are happening even. Next.
Okay, and Drake, can you clarify the Neil Keenan update that just came out this afternoon? Does this mean that Keenan is going to wait for someone else to finish up the case before proceeding with the collateral accounts? And does Nilu still have a good chance of being released soon, even without Neil handling the case?
I'm going to say this so that people get it. I'm not going to interfere with what Neil's doing in any way, shape, or form. By that, what I'm saying is that a variety of things have taken place. This does not mean that things are over with, done, etc. What it means is that we are in a position where we have to be very careful as to the manner in which we handle ourselves going forward. Now, that's a little different than what a lot of people think, or a lot of people believe, or a lot of people would like to hear. I'm not going to divulge information that I do have on the subject, not at this time. It's still a critical situation. So what I am going to do is allow a reasonable amount of generalities, and that's it. So, people are going to have to be patient with us and see whether or not we can pop something loose. I've got a lot of information about it, and I'm waiting on the response from Neil. I know what's going on well enough to know Neil and to know that his tenacity is not going to be distracted or changed in terms of what we're attempting to accomplish, no matter the inside, outside, or whatever forces are involved. Now, I would hate to cause embarrassment for the officials involved, but just to be honest with you and all of the listeners out there and anyone in Indonesia who listens to this program, I'm not beyond that, not in a heartbeat. If things have a tendency to be dragged out, if things have a tendency to be stonewalled, lost in the red tape of the bureaucracy of the honor of the court system, where one court doesn't interfere with another one and all this other happy stuff, ladies and gentlemen, I will make a large deposit in the middle of their parade. Neil knows this. He also knows that until I receive word, I probably won't take any action yet. And believe me, knowing Neil and the amount of work he's doing and has done, I would suggest he's on it. So I'm looking for a result. And I ask him every day one simple question: news with a question mark. And we either talk on Skype or some other method and have our communication, and then I find out what needs to be done, and I have no problem doing it. Okay?
Okay. Are we on the final timeline now?
Yes. Yes, we have
Are
been
we
on the final
timeline?
since, you'll love this. You heard of the date, 21/12? That was the beginning, supposedly, of the ending date relationship between these forces everybody wants to know about. Now that's from what I have accrued. So if there's more, girls, there it is.
Okay. Let's see. Are there words that are plants? Oh wait. Are there words or plants that the Archons don't like?
Don't know.
You don't know? Okay. What are your thoughts on
They don't like soul
Colonel...
mind meditation.
They don't like meditation?
Nope.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Colonel Billy Woodard and the Hollow Earth Network?
Who?
Colonel Billy Woodard and the Hollow Earth Network.
I am not familiar with his material specifically. The planet is hollow, but not in the way most people think it is.
Okay.
I would also hazard to say anybody coming from underground telling you that they're your friend is probably not.
Yeah.
Beware of those who live in caves.
There's in compliance with Gaia's wishes, all the underground cities, as far as non-military, non-cabal bases anyway, and the Hollow Earth was completely cleared out because we discovered that none of them that were present were actually working in the best interest of the general population or Gaia herself, and she requested we remove them, and we did.
Okay. I just want to make a statement. We're getting comments that many people are getting booted off the chat, some more than once. I would like to apologize for that problem, and I would also urge everyone to please be patient, not only with us, but with one another, because we were accused last night after Facebook shut down for an hour and a half or 2 hours yesterday evening. It was shut off to everyone, not just some. It was shut off. And people's posts disappeared. Some went down at different times. It wasn't like it just poof, the lights went out. It was like it went down in different grids. But anyway, people's posts disappeared. We were accused of censoring people all night last night, and things like that. Please just be patient with us and one another, because we're not in control of everything either right now. And the more good things we have to say and the more truth that comes out on the universal voice, the worse attacks that we get, and the more fun and games we get involved in. So apologies.
Yeah, we're having heavy sound distortion on our end right now.
Yeah, and we're having issues between Skype and Blog Talk also. I'm connected through Skype, and those who are listening through Skype may get verbal distortion, audio distortion. I don't know if that's a lag or what that is, but there are times when I can barely understand what you're saying. I will suggest that, however, for some reason, when we play back the archive once the program has ended, those problems don't occur. It comes through clear on the archive. So note the time on your clock, and you can go back and revisit the parts that you couldn't understand because they were garbled. Okay. Question: do we have death barcodes on us, and if so, how do we clear them?
No.
Don't have them. Okay. Next question. I read a report a few days ago from Montague Kian. He posts on Gene Haynes' blog site also, so I figure he's for real. He said that everyone should plan on shutting down their computers on June 21st for sure, because the cabal are going to attack all personal computers in the United States for keeping the ball rolling on the NSA's snooping programs and causing them so many problems. Would this be an attempt at a false flag, Drake?
Well, of course it would be. Think about it. Who's doing what to who? It's not difficult. Once you understand it, it gets real simple, real quick. Okay, and that simplicity is this: who's doing it? Well, if it's an official false flag fun and games attempt, that means that you are dealing with what we term the fan club. The fan club is a group of individuals who thinks it's funny to mess up our programming. If somebody doesn't know that by now, there are too many silly ways for people to gain access to things that they should not be messing with. This is just simply another form or attempt to do that very thing. So, I wouldn't personally worry about it a whole lot. Just, keep your ear to the ground and take note. Okay?
Okay.
I would note that Montague Keen is a channeled entity, a self-professed Templar, and in addition to that, firmly associated with the Galactic Federation of Light.
Well, that sort of puts him in the toilet.
Really?
I mean, in my, my simple understanding, I don't know much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to need to play a song as we roll over into a little bit of overtime. We have 90 seconds till we go into overtime. So, again, if you want to hear the end of the show, please be dialed in to 646-716-4984, and we will continue in overtime in just a minute. And some of your people my age will recognize that. That was Deep Purple from the Machine Head album, Space Trucking. That was one of my first albums, Drake. Thank you for the memories there.
Oh, you're welcome. Anybody who has not been space trucking might want to consider learning how.
Yeah. Good idea. Okay, I know we're having some audio difficulties. Girls, can you hear us?
It's kind of, actually it's very distorted and garbled. I don't know how clear I'm coming through.
I can hear you fine. How about you, Drake?
Yeah, I hear her fine, too. How do I sound? Like a fish in a bucket or what?
No,
well, anything coming through Blog Talk through the number for me is completely garbled right now.
Who is?
Yeah, that's Skype. It kind of comes and goes. If you have difficulty, if you have another like a landline or a phone that you could dial in, but you said you don't, do you?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm in Canada, land of the gouge when it comes to telecommunications. Right.
So I was going to say, because sometimes I have audio difficulties with Skype, and it's not apparent to everybody else, but it's, just for some reason Skype interacting with Blog Talk. And sometimes I have to dial in on my home phone as well in order to be able to understand what anybody else is saying. So, hopefully...
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't have that option.
Yeah, hopefully it will... It usually comes and goes. It's kind of like, almost like satellite fade or rain fade, with a satellite kind of thing. And it's usually only temporary, so... please let me know if you cannot understand the question or whatever, okay?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. We'll go on here. I don't expect you guys to stay forever because we're on page 10 of 28 pages of questions.
It's like mushrooms. The more you water them, the more that come.
Yeah. Okay, Drake, your perception of comments on Jesus Christ as a person and not just as a title, as Tanaath just alluded to. Also, I could be mistaken, but I thought that Drake said that Jesus Christ would be returning on another of his shows.
No. Everybody needs to pay attention now. Just because somebody holds a title does not mean that it does not belong to or address an entity. Bear that in mind. Number two, the simple question I had was, we got a friggin' mess. Nobody is going to pay attention to anybody on the planet as to the problems with religion and beliefs. And what we would like to do is maybe clarify that. I was told, very simply, I'll be returning to clear up the mess. That's a quote. You can quote me all you want. I don't care. You can call me crazy. But seeing as how I was in higher dimensions, and I didn't know if I could get that high, but I got there. It was a strain. It wasn't easy. Many of the things I do are extraordinary. Might wipe me out for a whole day or two before I can recover from the efforts made. This was something that was so strenuous that my brain was sore like a sore muscle, just asking a question. But to me, it was worth a sore muscle to get my answer. Now, that answer was to me, and it will vary and depends upon two things. One, whether or not people can get their head around the fact that that they have been lied to in the manner in which they have, and that most of the belief systems are not in their best interest. Anything, God says we got free will. The Creator put a handle on him, or her, or it, or however all this works, and say simply freedom of will. That we have the will to be the best that we can be in whatever way we find ourselves. Anything that says other than that ain't on the right track, is on the wrong road, is not good for you, is not in our best interest, etc. And these things need to be understood fully. So this is why, when I have an experience that I know is pertinent, that I know people need to hear, I don't care how many butts of the jokes I end up being in terms of saying it. If even one person hears it and understands that, then I consider what I did worth it. So, there it is.
Okay. They continue, if Jesus Christ is just a title, there are many websites who say that Jesus Christ, also Ashtar, are on the New Jerusalem ship in Jerusalem. So who are these people? I do believe that Jesus Christ in the Bible is not any more God than I am. Comment, anyone? I am not going on any ship.
All right. The thing that calls itself Sananda is not your friend. Ashtar. Ashtar is a mercenary. He and his crew showed up, said they were going to help, switched sides, and here we are. Stranding their own people who had come down and incarnated, and never really let them in on the fact. Not to mention, the entity known as Ashtar has since been killed. So I don't know whoever up there is claiming the name, but it ain't the original boy.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, Drake, is smoking truly our own free will, our choice? Yes. But are we being influenced by a dark energy who loves to smoke? Is now that our free will comes into play to choose to say no and not give in, not to be controlled? This could also be in regards to food, such as an overconsumption of anything, and also habits one wishes they would not wish to indulge in, but we do anyway. What is your take on the dark energies or aliens that are controlled programming, which is really not us, not our true being, but a program that we have allowed?
I personally have a tendency to blast them into smithereens simply because I don't like them and that they are after us. The thing about smoking is that you're not getting tobacco. In some cases, there's no tobacco in the cigarette. You've heard of GMO foods. Well, tobacco was one of the first. And to take that a step further, the additional up to 800 chemicals found in one particular brand, which happens to be popular, of smokes, might tell you that somebody has figured out how to put additives in there that are accenting the addiction. That said,
absolutely,
one of the takes that people miss in terms of your average burger joint, and I'm not going to name names, is that there are additives in the foods, specifically certain snacks as well, that you just buy any old place, that have a tendency to make you want more, whether you've eaten your fill or not. So, and if people don't understand the level of mind control, put that in your Google and search it. Now, mind control is multi-leveled. You got people like us doing it, and you have entities doing it. They can be microbes saying that you got to have a Big Mac attack. As an example, I got to have me a bunch of greasy fries. Ooh, I need 10 pounds of potatoes. And your sugar level goes off the Richter scale. The object is to lessen our independence in every way possible, and to make us as unfit to take care of ourselves as is possible. Number 3, at the point they feel successful, they're going to pull out the stops, supposedly. This plan was written about 100 years ago, by the way. And these things have been going on, not just here on this planet with us, but along with, people know what a leech is. They know what a mosquito is. How about something that just eats your energy? How about something that causes you to dumb down mentally? And, yeah, you got fluoridated water, you got this, you got that, but I'm talking about something that makes you basically dumber than a box of rocks. All these things are prevalent. Every trick capable of being used has been and is, and some of it's being ramped up as best they can. Now, from the conditions we've got so far, these people are on the run, accepting that they every once in a while find out some little critical piece of information and delay things further. Now, these are problems everybody's running across. We try to offer the best securities in both this planet and above as is possible for the very reason that we want to get this done. We've wasted too much time chasing ghosts and playing games in things that have not been presented in truthfulness. A good example is the Neil Keenan post. And Denise, go ahead and post that when you feel, that you can. There are forces that are going to be in play, both in that realm and other realms in the near future, that are not going to be able to be resisted. We are not going to go away or give up. I know I ain't, and I know these ladies are not either. So, and there's a lot of us. It ain't just one. It ain't just two. So, there you go.
Okay. All right, let me see. Oh, my goodness, we got comments and questions just coming from every direction here. Okay, in the early 80s, a group of 5 of us observed what is commonly known as a flying saucer, large bottom section with a smaller section on top. The UFO was a very large size and glowing in yellow and orange in color. My question is, could you tell me who would be manning this craft? I have always wondered about this, and thank you for all your unselfish efforts in freeing this planet.
Without having seen the craft in question and gotten a feel for the energy associated with it, it'd be hard to say whose it is.
Is our DNA similar to that of our celestial family? The reason why I ask is that I just finished watching David Wilcock's latest show on the Fatima prophecies, and he provided pictures of skulls that were elongated. He also explained how various European royals, including Prince Philip, have the very same bloodlines running through their DNA.
Our DNA is a truncated version of that of our ancestors. The truncation happened when the Draco and the Hydra genetically manipulated us in order to try to get rid of such troublesome traits as living long enough to know better and other things like that.
Okay.
The elongated skulls are a product of Syrian genetic influence. It comes from Sirius A system.
Goodness gracious. Okay. Okay, he said, in Tolik's last interview, he was talking about an event that might happen. He talked about the last-ditch effort by the Republicans, or the Reps and Greys, to take the planet. They might try an in-our-face occupation and take as many people as they can. As a Marine vet, do we stand a chance in a firefight against these people?
If you're properly equipped and trained, then yes, you do. A well-trained Marine with the correct equipment and the correct training on how to deal with the situation can toe-to-toe it with a Reptoid. If you got more than one well-trained Marine, then you're probably doing pretty good.
Okay.
Honestly, though, it should not come down to that. You know, they can try all they want, but we're doing everything within our power to keep it from coming to that. It's not required. In no way, shape, or form is any particular event or activity required to happen in an exact certain way. You know, no requirement for alien invasion before we can ascend for that. The only thing that is going to happen, no matter what, is the flip over to the next dimension.
Okay. All right. We were getting complaints that Tanaath and Sunfire were garbled a little earlier. Now we're getting comments that Drake and I are garbled since we went into overtime. There is no doubt that the powers that be, the games people play, whatever, they're playing their games. Our fan club is hard at work, as usual. Okay. But we're just going to trudge on. All right. Last night when the internet went down, it went down at my house from 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. last night. I called my son in Los Angeles, and his was down as well. Do you know what that was all about? And I was wondering also about Fulford's latest posting. Is any of that stuff true? I see that Zap has taken Poof's spot.
I don't know why the internet's going down. All I know is that there's definitely some jiggery-pokery going on, which is a good indication that something's up. As for Fulford, I think we've already discussed him.
Okay. Yes.
And if you want to take it a step further, there's more to it. I would be very cautious in accepting anything that all of a sudden you see materializing, such as some of these ideas, you know, the world's coming to an end and all that. Okay?
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Sunfire, this question is for you, and it by no means is meant to be negative. You mentioned earlier to make contact with an ET, one could stand outside and send out the intent. My question, with 6 billion humans on the planet, how would one measly message make it out to an ET millions or thousands of millions or whatever miles away?
It's not really that far up into space, just outside of the atmosphere. I think it's about 100,000 feet or something like that. And thought and intent can travel across the universe.
Instantly.
Instantly. So, just traveling about 100,000 miles up into orbit, or, maybe slightly beyond that, to catch the attention of a highly telepathically sensitive being is not that far at all.
It's kind of like flagging down a taxi in New York. Usually you're going to get a taxi.
Question, I live in Sweden, and Tolek said in an interview that Northern Europe will be gone. It will be underwater sometime this year. At least I think it was Tolek that said that. I can't be sure. So much information. I would love to hear what they know about that. Can this be true?
There's likely to be coastline changes. They're not likely to be overnight. You're not going to find your house suddenly underwater tomorrow, for instance. You're going to have the chance to pack up very calmly and move.
And as far as I understand it, from what I've been told, there are not going to be any major coastline changes or anything like that. If anything, we're only going to see about, a rise of maybe a foot or two in the oceans, or, if that. And, there's not going to be any dramatic pole shifts or crustal displacement or anything like that. We've emphasized this a million times. There will be no widespread destruction.
Yes, I recommend that you get a towel that says, "Don't panic." Keep this towel with you.
Okay, here's a good question for you girls. And you too, Drake. On the extreme off chance that there should be an invasion event that occurs, would the Silver Legion, the Galactic Federation of Planets, and or the Andromeda Council intervene?
If those organizations are intact, yes. If there is invasion, such as that, it would likely be because something has come along to make us no longer present, in which case I'm going to say it's unlikely to have that happen.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. There will be no invasions, false flag or otherwise. There's just not a chance at this point. We've got trillions and trillions of beings and ships in reserve, and thousands of ships in system alone. So, unless the entire universe and about five or six other universes try to invade all at once, I don't think there's any problem with that or anything to be concerned about.
Okay. Next question. NASA just announced the upper atmosphere is diminishing. Is this anything to do with the collapsing matrix or control grid?
No.
No. Okay.
It's more fear porn.
Okay. Can people's realities be different because we lived past lives in different realities, timelines, etc.?
Yep.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Okay. Anybody here? I believe Tanaath has commented that it is not possible right now, referring to ETs coming down here on surface. Is this referring to the vibrational levels existing now as opposed to later? I know we need to do our thing with government, etc., but it sounds like a physical limitation to me. Thank you.
We'll leave it at the statement that it is not possible, and we are currently working to fix this.
Okay. Are our enemies of humanity using a time machine to show what is ahead to work against us?
Yes. In fact, quite a bit of the apocalypse and end-of-the-world prophecies are part of this psyop, you could call it. It's very easy to say, oh, my prophecies are accurate, when you can take something that just happened, go back in time, implant it in prophecy, and then people think everything else you say is also golden, which isn't the case.
Okay. Here's a comment. Last thing I heard was that after December 21st, 2012, their looking glass technology wasn't working anymore, and all they saw was a gray wall after that date, which could mean that this time now and what will happen is not written in stone, and it will be more like fair play since nobody can manipulate the future anymore. Don't know. If this is correct, it would be nice. Okay, go ahead.
And I wanted to comment on this one. As far as the looking glass thing and the December 21st, 2012, thing and not being able to see beyond that, the reason they said that was because the Cabal could not, no matter what they did to change the outcome, could not change the outcome of their demise. And so they decided to shut it down and claim that they could not see anything beyond 2012. Because they could not change the outcome of their demise.
In fact, everything they did to change it backfired.
Okay.
Did they holler whoops?
Whoops. Okay. What is the real truth behind the legend of King Arthur, Merlin, Excalibur, and the Ilk?
I'm sorry, that was garbled. Can you repeat that?
What is the real truth behind the legend of King Arthur, Merlin, Excalibur, and the Ilk?
I don't know. I'm not privy to that. We got Merlin in the Silver Legion, and I haven't had the opportunity to ask him about the truth, and don't really have resonance close enough to get the first-hand story, and I'd rather not repeat hearsay on that.
Okay. Okay, there's another very similar question to what we just added or did answer earlier. How will astrology work in 4D? Will it differ?
Astrology? I think because the movements of stars, planets, and other celestial objects does tie in with sacred geometry. Yes, astrology will probably still be somewhat relevant, although how we understand it will probably be changed a lot, and what we can use it for will probably be changed a lot.
Okay. Did Drake say that some of the Ascended Masters would make an appearance somehow this summer? How do we know who is real and who is not? We have already been told that they will be projecting holograms and such. So how do we know who is real and who is not?
The comments on the Ascended Masters were from Public Middle.
I got a question and a supposition for the person asking that. First of all, who designated Ascended Masters? As far as I can tell, that word is void of meaning in terms of not being relative to anything I can find, as a matter of fact. I can't give the general population something to work with when, as far as I can tell, it doesn't exist. So, this is my personal take on this, but I don't find any validity otherwise. Okay?
Okay. Tanaath mentioned on a previous show that the ETs would not land on private property, only in parks and public areas. We have no parks, and I have them unequivocal. I have given them unequivocal permission to land in my front yard. Will they if I give them permission?
At this time, I don't think anybody's going to see any landings anywhere. What I was referring to is the Andromeda Council visits, which will take place most likely in public and in third space, and not on corporate property and the like. Not that they will land there, but when they come and speak to groups, it will likely be in those public settings. That's what that had to do with. As for landing in your backyard, maybe someday, but probably not right now.
Okay, all right. After transitioning to the next dimension, do people still require services like massage and the like to get rid of stiff muscles and or tension headaches? Or would we not get cramps even if we sat hunched over a table for 5 hours?
Massage and other healing and soothing touch are still used for various purposes, including connection between beings and including for healing and recovery and whatnot. So yeah, there is still such thing as massage, and massage therapists are still going to be around.
Okay. We won't have, from my understanding anyway, we won't have as much sickness, pain, suffering, and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you overexert yourself, you might need therapeutic massage.
Exactly.
If you have a really spectacularly bad day, massage will probably help with that too. You know.
Exactly.
It's still good.
Okay. Tanaath, can you please talk about salt? I have heard you talk about salt on another interview and said it was not a natural product, but used to limit our awareness or consciousness, something like that. Can Tanaath talk about the history of salt and who brought it to the earth and why?
Hold on. Did you say salt?
Yeah, S-A-L-T.
As in sodium chloride? No,
yeah.
Salt's natural, and salt has a lot of good applications. And you need to eat salt. You know, this talk about reducing your sodium content is a load of horse hockey. You need to have salt. It's an essential electrolyte in your body. Salt oceans are not natural. It's specifically salt oceans that are salty enough that if you drink that water, your red blood cells will desiccate and shrivel, and you will dehydrate to death because it is saltier than than your own blood and your own body. Salt in itself is not bad, but when you put it in all the water sources, so that most of the water sources in the world are now filled with salt that can't be drank, because if you do it, your red blood cells are going to desiccate. That's bad. That's used to control us. That's used to control populations, because all of a sudden population can only be where there is fresh water to drink. And there is a limit to how much fresh water is on the land all of a sudden, which means that you have desertification, you have wars fought over water, things like that.
Okay, gotcha. All right, question for Drake. Drake, have you ever been in any of these secret societies, such as the Masons, etc.?
No. There's varying reasons for that. I couldn't find any of them that basically agreed with what my idea was of what should be done. So I kind of gravitated other directions. Okay?
Okay, gotcha. Question for Tanaath and Sunfire. In May of 2011, Andromedan contactee Mark Kimmel's site said, "Many of us walk beside you each and every day as you go about your ordinary lives. We are of a higher frequency so that you do not detect us with your 5 senses. If you are sensitive and or highly conscious, you may feel us as we accompany you. Earth humans of similar high vibrations may see us." His site mentions over and over again that they are already here on the surface and living among us, placed strategically to assist. So these guys are already here. Are they safe from cabal shenanigans? His site further says that once the fear level goes down from the sleepwalking population, that they will be able to be seen. But I wondered if they are safe from this annoying cabal group at this time.
Yeah, they're safe. He's talking that they're spirit projecting down, much like I described earlier on this show. They're not here in the flesh and just invisible. They are here in spirit accompanying us, which is why we can't see them unless you happen to be either born with spirit sight or able to access it through other means. And
okay.
yes, as we go through the transition, we'll be able to see them. And there's not a darn thing the Cabal can do about them or to them.
All right. Since December 21st, 2012, I've been seeing a lot of time synchronicities such as 11:11, 12:12, et cetera, et cetera. It kind of dropped off since then. However, this past week it is back, but it only happens about once a day. On 4 different days, I saw 11:11 on the clock. Then 2 days, I saw 12:12 on the clock. And then one day, I saw 1:11 on the clock. Since this all began, again, it has happened in one of these forms every single day. Is this another sign of spiritual enhancement and or the coming ascension?
Well, I've discussed numbers before, and what it comes down to is it's a couple of things. It's sometimes the universe saying, hey, pay attention, and sometimes it's the universe saying, hey, you're on the right track.
Okay. All right, Drake. You had said in the past that by January 2014 we should be in 4D. Then he said by January 2015 we will be in 5D. I read on one of the sites recently that when we get to 4D, it will take another 3,600 years at least to get to 5D. Which is correct, and can anyone seriously predict the time anyway? Thanks.
What I've heard is very simple. The time frames, okay, what you're asking for is a prediction. That's difficult at best. So the time frames are very simple. Sometime between fall of this year and spring of next is when we will have these occurrences known as transition, etc. That is the best information that I have at this point. And the reason I don't go past that is very simple. It's not written in stone simply because it has not yet occurred. So everybody's going to have to get their head around that idea that if something has not actually happened, the actual absolute date, time, whatever you want to stick on it, can't be validated. Next.
Okay, and the real question I think was, Drake, is it true that fourth dimension, that it will be 3,600 years before we get to fifth dimension?
Now you're really getting out there in the projection. I'll make the suggestion again. Do a little internal review. Check your information, its source, and the validity of it. I'll say again, and you got to get this clear, guys. If you want a true validity of something, the only manner in which you find true validity is at the occurrence of whatever event you're talking about. There is no other way that I know of. Okay?
Okay.
I was going to say,
all right.
As far as how long each individual soul spends in a specific individual dimension is up to that individual soul. Each soul has their own life, their own path, their own destiny, their own amount of lessons and things they want to learn and need to learn. And some souls, some individual beings will go and spend time in 10, 12D, and then they'll be like, oh, well, this is boring, and then they go and spend time in 4 or 5D where it's more physical and it's more fun, and then they go and they spend, some time up in 4060. There's no specific time frame or period that any one individual soul is going to spend in one dimension versus another. It's an individual thing. It cannot be predicted.
I know somebody who spent 400 million years in 5D because he thinks it's fun.
Well, there we go. Okay. Okay. it is spoken in terms of our existence here as an experiment. Just what was the experiment? A general, let's see what happens, or more specific interest in mind?
It was in order to see what the combination of all of these genetics would reveal or result in, and to see, how these cultures would interact and sort of what could be produced out of human experience here.
Well, I commend you all. A question to anyone is it true that the powers that were want to keep all knowledge of the shift from the Terran population because after the shift they can use it as an extraterrestrial attack on us to get everyone onto their side? Or will they lose media control because they will cease to exist?
They're likely going to lose media control, so I really don't know what the big deal, why they're trying so hard to suppress all this information about it.
Uh-huh. Okay, is it decisive to say that all the photos/videos of Nibiru are in fact actually the biospheres that have been mentioned by Tolek and Tanaath?
Likely, yes. I think it is quite accurate to say that most of these things that are being passed off as Nibiru are actually not Nibiru or anything of the sort. They are indeed biospheres, many of which have been in the system for a long, long time. They're nothing to be afraid of. They're not going to come hurt you or go bump in the night. They're not boogeymen. They're not going to cause gravitic interference with this planet. They're just there. They're there to help, too. For something that is supposed to be on transit, Nibiru has been spotted all over the place and not in any way consistent with an actual movement of an actual celestial body. Quite frankly, it's not Nibiru at all. It's just Andromeda Council or other biospheres, nothing to be alarmed of. It's not going to come get you or, take your kids or steal your dog or dig up your flower bed.
Okay. All right. Just tell me, Tanaath, if this is too technical a question. It's like we get questions for Drake that would take a novel to explain. And here we go. I am not going to be able to pronounce this at all. I'm going to have to spell it out for you. Okay? So have your pen ready. Okay. Could you please explain the Alduzani, Alduzzani, and Mashichelli, Mashihilli story? Many thanks.
The Alduzani are the predecessors of the Reptoids. They came here from another universe 4 billion years ago. The event that brought them here was the traumatic destruction of my home planet, at least in that universe. I've moved around a bit, so I can claim more than one universe as technically as my home, including this one. They were originally taught spaceflight by a very peaceful race called the Mashihilli. The Mashihilli, upon teaching the Alduzani spaceflight, the Alduzani turned around and then started slaughtering the Mashihilli because they were acquisitive and quite warlike. And then the Alduzani and the Mashihilli kind of both scattered, the Alduzani scattering in conquest and the Mashihilli on the run from the Alduzani. What happened was the events that destroyed my planet created enough of a warp, I guess you could say, that it brought the survivors and the dead alike into this universe, and immediately thereafter the Alduzani dispersed. They kept a couple of different populations that were pure Alduzani. One branch population split off and became the ancestors of the modern-day Reptoids. The Alduzani themselves are very human in appearance. The old blood Alduzani are human in appearance. But most of the reptoids have forgotten about this, and those who remember are quite shocked when they first remember back to Aldous, the original planet that they inhabited, because it's nothing. It is absolutely nothing close to what is passed along in their histories. And again, that's for a reason. I don't know. We have suspected that there has been, how should I put this, outside entities that had engineered the whole situation to bring the Aldersani into this universe, and then took a segment of them to engineer them into becoming reptoids in order to create problems in this universe. We have had some evidence to that effect, but I don't know how relevant that is to the Earth situation.
Okay. Question. I've asked this before, but no answer yet. Is what we in 3D consider heaven actually 4D in reality?
The construct of heaven is mythological, and it was created as part of the whole psychological campaign to keep people trapped down here on the surface of the planet in endless reincarnated lives of misery without ever really realizing what's actually going on. 4D life, that said, can be, I think, pretty heavenly when compared to this life, but it is not heaven. There's no God up there dictating out, this, that, and the other thing, sitting on a great big pearly throne on a bunch of clouds with a bunch of angels kissing his butt and singing constantly. That whole construct.
I don't think angels like kissing anybody's butt.
No, they're generally pretty averse to butt kissing in general. Doesn't matter what you call it.
More happy to kick somebody in the ass than kiss it.
Yep. That conception, especially, a whole bunch of people dressed in a bunch of sheets with some harps and a little gold halo over their head, and little fluffy wings. No, sorry, that's not real. Those are almost entirely constructions of medieval theorizing on theology. They're not based on anything at all.
Shucks.
Okay. We have only about 7 minutes left. I'm going to have to ask for closing remarks, and I will apologize again to our audience for the questions we did not get answered. Thank you. We have got a bazillion questions, but we are going to continue this program on a weekly basis now until further notice. So your questions will be retained for next week. Thank you for your patience. I think we were very successful in that we went through 14 pages of questions. So we're just getting as many as we can get answered. And thank you all for your questions. And I'm going to ask Tanaath and Sunfire if they would like to give closing remarks real quick.
As always, have no fear. Things will turn out. It might look a little hairy for a while, but you're going to be just fine.
Thank you, Tanaath. And Sunfire, did you want to share anything?
Another one of those little pearls of wisdom. Actually, I think I'll just pass it on to Drake. Take care of each other, and just know that the transition is just around the corner. It'll be here in a blink of an eye. The world will change.
Thank you, honey. Thank you very much. Okay, and Drake?
Yeah, well, I've stipulated a lot of things on this program, and a lot of people pay attention, and then there's a few around that don't, of course. Quite simply, we're in the final countdown. by that I mean that very literally in a whole bunch of different ways. The main thing for everybody to understand is don't worry about it. Maintain and know that you have people, entities, whatever sort of handle you might want to put on us, who are looking out for you. Yeah, you got a big brother in the sky kind of deal. And we have every intent and every thing we do is predicated towards two things: protecting this planet from nasties, whatever they may be. Even in the case it's similar to the oath of service, all enemies, foreign and domestic. That means that word domestic means those who would come at you from within. The interesting part of it is that everybody's searching for what they need to do. This is a part of it. Listen up and get her done.
Okay, Drake, thank you. We will see you again here next week, same time, same channel. And thank you all for joining us. Everybody have a blessed week. And take care of one another. Be strong and be diligent. And we'll see you on the next show. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Drake.